under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
Hey, what's going on, guys? God damn it. It is time again for the U.S. men's national team to take on South Korea. Another FIFA international window. I know that all my friends over there in the UK are closely paying attention to Ireland and Scotland. But tonight, though, make no mistake, it's the U.S. men's national team as Mauricio Pochettino has yet another opportunity with what I consider the nice way to say it. It's very Gold Cup-like, I'll just say. But that being said, before we get into all of that hoopla, make sure you hit the subscribe, like, and subscribe buttons as we are on a march to 1,000 subs. And of course, this channel is absolutely growing. And I do want to thank those that have already subbed already. Big up to you guys, and of course, big up to everyone in the chat. Let's go ahead and take a look at the chat real quick. As we have Adrian, Spurs Diehards TTID. Good evening, Steve. Al, good to see you too, Adrian, man. Big up to you. My buddy Dan Davenport, who is checking in, says, "Hey, Steve, how you doing?" And of course, we have Rooftop Sports, and of course, Fighting Korea, blah 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 blah, Korea. I actually, by the way, I just sent you an email, so you should check that too. Let's see. Greg Perez, very interesting 11 today, sir. Yes, and we're about to get into that 11. And let's see. We have Dan Davenport. Do you know if Pochettino has a clause in his contract if a Prem wants to hire Poch during the season? Make no mistake, U.S. soccer will never, ever, ever let Pochettino go now. We are less than a year away from World Cup 2026, and I know there's U.S. men's national team fans that will probably welcome it. But that being said, under no circumstances is Pochettino leaving for Manchester United, if that's what you're referencing. Luke, man, spotlight on Spurs, man. Good to see you. Big up, mate. I hope you are well. Yep. And in roughly a couple hours when we absolutely demolish South Korea. You heard me, Joe. You heard me. All right. So as Greg Perez happened to mention just a second ago, very interesting starting 11. So let's go ahead and get into it. In goal tonight will be Matt Freese, and that should not be a surprise at all, because Matt Freese, as of right now, is the number one. The interesting thing is the fact that the number 2 and number 3, and the interesting thing about this is I'm not afraid. Jonathan Klinsmann and Roman Celentano, okay, whatever the case may be. But that being said, understand that we're less than a year from the World Cup. And Mauricio Pochettino is still tinkering around with certain things, right? I would just assume that Matt Turner might be a part of this, or whatever the case may be, Chris Brady might be around with this. But that being said, he's still kind of tinkering around, and I get the impression that he doesn't necessarily know who his best 11 is. at this point. But okay, fine. So now we move to the defense of Serginho Dest, who is most likely going to be at World Cup 2026. He is healthy, he is in form, and now he is back at the right back position. Okay, great. But now all of a sudden we get into the center back positions. Tim Ream wearing the captain's armband, playing at the left center back. We would probably assume we'd see Chris Richards. Nope, Tristan Blackman is going to be in that right center back position instead of Chris Richards. And Max Arfston will be at the left back position, almost that left wing back position. Then, as we move to the double pivot, Tyler Adams is definitely going to be there, and there's Sebastian Berhalter. Not necessarily a surprise that he's going to be there. And then we get into the attacking three. Tim Weah is back on the right side. Thank God. It's nice to have Tim Weah back. But that being said, Christian Pulisic most likely is playing as the 10 with Diego Luna out left. But that being said, you would probably assume that you're going to see Diego Luna shade in a little bit more centrally, as we have seen over the course of the last two windows, as Mauricio Pochettino does like to attack with the left wing back. And Max Arfton actually is kind of a left winger, is not exactly a fullback. And so I would probably assume we're going to see a lot of that. And of course, Josh Sargent's going to be up at top as Sargent makes his way back into the national team. And of course, he's probably the guy right now in the European player pool that has started the season absolutely on fire. I think he's got 5 goals in 5 matches for Norwich City. And now it's time for Josh to actually, sack up and actually start scoring goals for the national team. But there's that. And of course, we got my buddy here, Joe from Rooftop Sports. What's going on, my guy? How you feeling today?
Not much. I'm just sitting at this open house because I thought I wasn't going to make it to this show because that was the original plan. But then the open house is so dead slow that I'm like, screw it. Let's join in here. And as for the team itself for South Korea, I mean, I'm nervous because this is like they're going up against the United States. United States is you would think that they're a pretty formidable team. That's how I feel about South Korea too. But they have a lot of just like the Seattle Mariners we deal with. As much as they have a bunch of front office drama, South Korea does as well. A lot of bad politics there.
And the interesting thing about South Korea is the fact that, they fired a coach mid-window, just like the U.S. men's national team is Jurgen Klinsmann, of course, former U.S. men's national team head coach Jurgen Klinsmann got fired from the KFA after essentially taking pot shots about the K-League and about how certain things are run over there in Korea. And I don't necessarily think he was wrong. But that being said, the Korean faithful don't like it when an outsider comes in. And starts trying to push his weight around, especially in the Asian Cup, where you get absolutely demolished by Jordan and some of these Middle Eastern nations, where you would expect South Korea to essentially win. Next to Japan, they're probably the 2 best teams in the Asian Confederation. So they go back to a former head coach. I believe he was head coach of South Korea for the 2014 World Cup, where I think they didn't necessarily play.
And I don't like him either because he made very controversial selections for the 2014 World Cup. He chose Arsenal striker Park Chu-young, but he was literally sleeping on the bench, literally, for 4 years. It was a failed goal for 2010, and they were like, well, he has. And it's like, well, if he gets more experience, he'll be better for 2014. And of course, he wasn't that much better, so badly that he didn't even get to start for the 3rd game. He was benched.
Yeah. Speaking of South Korea, apparently they're lined up in a 5-4-1 tonight with the young gentleman Han Woo-jo, who's going to be in goal tonight. The back 5 is going to be Young Woo-sol, who plays for Zvezda Bogard, and I believe that's in Europe somewhere. And then they got the Kim brothers as the 3 center backs, and it looks like it's going to be Ju-sung Kim, who's going to be on the right side. We got Tae-sok Lee, who plays for Rapid Wien in Austria, and then of course the big guy, which is Min Jae Kim, who plays for Yep, Kim Min Jae.
And I say it as a Korean. I say the last names first, but yeah, Kim Min Jae is their center back. We got
Yep.
Jo Hyun-woo, who was the star of the 2018 World Cup as a goalkeeper. Hasn't really done much since. And then we got Pak Seung-ho, who was actually one of the former Korean Spaniard prospects from a long time ago. I think he was with Barcelona. And of course, the striker, Heung-Min, the former Tottenham, now LAFC.
Yep. At the right back position, it looks like it's going to be Lee Han-bom, who plays for FC Midtjylland, very good club. The midfield four is going to be Lee Dong-wang of Shangju Sangmu. And then you were mentioned, Paik Sung-ho, who plays for Birmingham City.
Yeah.
Yep. Who is a center defensive mid for Birmingham City. Then we have Kim Jim-yu from Jeonbuk Hyundai, which is obviously in the K-League. And then we have one of their big guys, which is Lee Jae-sung, who plays for Mainz in the Bundesliga. Very good outside attacker off the left side. And, of course, you mentioned the big gun right there, which is Son Heung-min. Obviously, for those Tottenham supporters who are in the chat, obviously we all know about Sonny. But the question that I have for you starting off is just exactly how strong is this version of South Korea I guess you can say in reference to the U.S. men's national team, which really aren't in great form right now. Just how good and how in form are South Korea coming into this match?
Still questions, because whenever you have Hong Myung-bo as the head coach, there's always going to be questions of how he chooses these players. Like, just right off the bat, where is Lee Gang-in, the PSG star? Where is he? Either he is not playing today, or he is waiting for the next friendly, which I believe they're playing Mexico real soon. So, yeah, Hong Myung-bo, I'm not a big fan of his tactics. Like, man, it makes me miss what's his name, Paulo Bento, and I didn't even like him that much either.
Well, that's interesting.
But at least they made the World Cup, so they did it in a not so bad fashion. Like, it's not like they had to limp their way to it, but even then, still feel nervous for this friendly. And I don't get me wrong, like, yeah, sure, it's a friendly, but I want them to play well. Of course, we do want to come away with a victory. Even a tie, I'll be like, fine, whatever.
And, the interesting thing for the United States, as soon as this roster got announced, there was a lot of blowback for Mauricio Pochettino in naming this one because, a lot of people, have started calling him Puppetino, just considering of the, I guess you can say the MLS centric roster that he chose. And, of course, that came even more prominent as, Christian Roldan got named to the team. Of course, Christian just won a Leagues Cup with the Seattle Sounders, our hometown team. And again, I get it, man. Christian Roldan, probably this season playing as the best center mid in Major League Soccer. But yet, Weston McKennie gets left off. Yunus Musa gets left off. Some of Malik Tillman didn't make this team as well too. So there's a lot of guys who are playing in far superior leagues that get left off this squad in favor for guys who, let's be perfectly honest, probably don't deserve to be on this national team. It's one thing if you're going to go all MLS for, a tournament like the Gold Cup, which obviously the U.S. Soccer Federation doesn't necessarily rate themselves. So from that standpoint, you can understand that. But that being said, we're 3 windows away from the World Cup. And the impression is that he's still tinkering and that he may or may not know his starting 11, which is a little suspect considering that when you go back through every single cycle, by the time that we hit this point, the core of the entire team is already in place. And now, of course, they're going through World Cup qualifying and essentially they're getting ready for World Cup 2026. And yet Mauricio Pochettino is still kind of tinkering at this point.
Looking at comments myself, it says, Dan Davenport, remember when Goose Hitting took South Korea to the semifinals of World Cup in 2002? Absolutely. I watched the penalty shootout between Spain and South Korea. That was quite a thrill. It was like 4 a.m. and I was at a Korean house party, and that's what it really was about. Unless you're Italy or Spain, you're going to say otherwise that the referees led South Korea to the semifinals. So it depends who you talk to.
By the way, wasn't that the World Cup where South Korea made it to the semifinals And there was a little bit of controversy when it came to some of the calls that allowed South Korea, to kind of make it a deep run there on home soil. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, it happened. There were bad calls, but there was also an opportunity at stoppage time after South Korea tied against Italy. Christian Vieri had a point-blank shot to the goal to basically erase the equalizer, and he missed point-blank, and he had a clear shot, but no one talks about that. And had he made it into the goal, this would have been a non-story. This would have been everything under the bridge, but because South Korea still has that fourth place name in them, and I guess since Italy hasn't made a World Cup since 2014, what else are they going to talk about? They're just going to talk about the 2002 World Cup, knowing that they won a World Cup 4 years later anyway.
Now, for the U.S., we probably would have been if VAR was around back in 2002, we would have been in the semifinal because of the handball from Germany.
The handball, yep.
Yep. And
that was when Oliver Kahn barely blocked a shot, and it just happened to land in, I think it was one of the German shoulders, and ref completely missed the call. Should have been a penalty kick.
That should have been a red card and a penalty, and the U.S. would have marched on to the semifinals. But as it was, that didn't happen, and that's still today the best result for both Korea and the
United States. And they played against each other, 1-1 tie.
Niall O'Connor asked, does Weston not start for you guys? Typically, yes, he does start, but he was not called into this camp as he is not necessarily getting minutes so far for Juventus. And then, of course, Dan Davenport is asking, there are rumors that a Qatari consortium are rumored to be interested in making a bid to buy Tottenham from ENIC, and that would be absolutely huge. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But any type of a state takeover means that billions of dollars will get influxed into our club. And at that point, we're competing with Man City and we're competing with Liverpool, Arsenal, and the very tippy top in the Premier League. But all right. So I do want to talk to you about this pretty quickly because we are less than 10 minutes away from the start of kickoff here. I do want to talk about Son Heung-Min because over the last year and a half, it looks like form has gotten a little bit of the best of him. I know he dealt with a couple of reoccurring injuries, but it feels like Son Heung-Min this season was in form, and I don't necessarily think that was the very best for the Premier League. Of course, he gets his move over to Major League Soccer, and it looks like he's actually doing well for LAFC up to this point. But that being said, in conjunction with the Korean national team, what are the expectations for him as obviously being the captain for South Korea? What are the expectations? Not just what we're going to see tonight, but also back home in Korea. What are the expectations that are on his shoulders as far as this Korean national team?
Well, the expectation is to completely not only lead this team, as he does carry the team quite a bit, but also to get any of the younger players going, like Lee Gang-in, make him more into that captain, that leader that needs to be, because just 2 years ago, or even just barely last year, they got into a fight during that Asian Cup right before the Jordan game, and now it makes sense why they lost 2-0. So hopefully Son Heung-Min can get all these younger players on the move, because right now there's not other than Lee Gang-in, there's not really someone that really sticks out that could be the future of Korea. It's just a bunch of mid-level players, unfortunately, and other players to look forward to. There's a guy named Jen Kanstrup. He's actually the very first interracial South Korean player to play. He was actually a guy in Germany, half German, half Korean. Would like to see him come off the bench. So I think around this time, this would be a time for Son Heung-Min. I wouldn't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, now as for Son Heung-Min, I just hope that Hong Myung-bo doesn't use him, overexert him too much, because that's what he did throughout World Cup qualifiers. They used him when it wasn't really that necessary. It was like the last 2 games, and they still tried to use him as starter. Sure, you want to guarantee your spot quickly, but at the same time, there are plenty of younger players that Korea should be using so they can get some game time and then get ready for the World Cup, because it is typical that South Korea, they do tend to wait too long on these young talents, unless their name is like Tottenham right next to it. They don't really get as much playing time as they should. And that's what Goose Hiddink did. He took a chance on Park Ji-sung. He took a chance on Iong Pyo. He took a chance on all these young players that the Korean Federation was like, no, do not play these players. And then Goose Hiddink that said, screw you. We're just going to play these guys because they have
You
young,
have to find
fresh.
out.
They're young.
Yeah, you have to find out.
You got to find out one way or the other.
Yeah. Right. And the last thing that the KFA probably wants is, there's going to be a slight drop off when it comes to quality. But that being said, it's the rub, right? Because if they succeed, then it looks good for the K League and the KFA because they're developing young talent, right? On Korean soil versus them, leaving to go play in Europe or Japan or whatever the case may be. But that being said, the rub is if they fail, the last thing they want is that being put out there in world football that maybe the K League isn't exactly not necessarily a hotbed for talent, but a hotbed for development. You know what I mean? So there's kind of a rub. But that being said, if you're a coach and you have a league at your disposal, you're gonna have to see exactly what some of these young kids are made of. You're eventually going to find out if they can play or not.
Well, the thing is too is like with Son Heung-min getting up to his age, like he's going to be 34 by the next World Cup. And even then, even with that big age that everyone knows, they're still going to like try to double team against him. And if there's no other players that can step up, then Korea's not going to really do much. And I've seen the matches where he does get overwhelmed. Like it's a lot. There's a huge difference between Tottenham Son Heung-min and there's Korea Son Heung-min.
Yeah.
Son Heung-min in Korea, he's like overwhelmed. At least Tottenham, he has players to work with. And then Dan Davenport says, could you see South Korea hosting Summer Olympics games again? I don't see why not. And
I would think so.
Let me see what they're.
The 88 Seoul games were absolutely a success. I would see why not. But, the interesting thing is tonight it looks like Son Heung-min is lined up as a primary target 9, which leads me to believe that maybe they're going to try to play a little bit more direct. And also, like when I look at their formation, it looks like the U.S. men's national team are going to be probably playing with the bulk of possession tonight, which isn't exactly surprising, but it looks like the way that they're set up is to potentially press a little high, create turnovers higher up the pitch, and then try to play a little directly into Sun. And when you look at the U.S. center back pairing of Tim Ream and Tristan Blackman, it almost feels like this might be an opportunity for Sun to potentially score a couple goals tonight. But again, the question is whether or not Sun actually has those legs that he even had 5 years ago. When he was playing directly with Tottenham Hotspur. But that being said, I would assume from the Korean standpoint that is the plan, right? You're going to try to get Sonny crashing, crashing the channels between the center backs and try to wreak havoc in the box or potentially get them on runs, those type of things with through balls. But that being said, for the U.S. men's national team, it's imperative that the double pivot of Sebastian Berhalter and Tyler Adams do their job above the center backs right on top of the 18-yard box, because the last thing you want is South Korea controlling the tempo right outside the box and getting on up runs and attacking channels and these type of things. So it's going to be an interesting chess match tonight. And the way that I look at this is there is some I don't know if South Korea is the better team coming into this one. But that being said, for me on paper, it almost feels like this thing is kind of like evenly matched. Like I look at the players and I'm like, okay, cool. So South Korea's got, I would assume, a bulk of their first team playing tonight, minus a few players. But for the U.S. men's national team, I'm looking at it. It's like, well, we got our best player on the pitch tonight in Christian Pulisic. We finally get Timmy Weah back. We get Serginho Dest back. And so from that, and we have Tyler Adams. So from that standpoint, there should be no excuses from the U.S. men's national team side of things. And I would probably assume for South Korea as well too.
Well, I guess I would agree that it could be a push, but I guess we can only find out how the games go. And for Dan Davenport, I actually got an answer for could you see South Korea hosting Olympic Games? They are going to try to for the 2036 Olympic Games. and it would be in Jeonju, South Korea. Not Seoul this time, but Jeonju.
Oh,
So
okay.
2036 is in.
There's going to be a bid. Okay.
Yeah, other bidding cities that are known right now is India is in the picture. They are putting their names on it. Qatar, Doha, big surprise there because they got the money. Why not? Istanbul, Turkey is in there.
Ooh.
Indonesia is going to try.
Ooh.
All these, Egypt is going to try. And after South Korea, then we got, this was an interesting one. China, Hong Kong, and Macau are going to try to do a co-hosting thing, which that would be, where's Taiwan?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting,
and then there's
right?
Hungary, Italy.
Because China's pulled off two Olympic Games in the last 20 years, winter and summer, so they have the infrastructure in place. That's kind of interesting, but I can't imagine Egypt getting the games.
South Africa, Toronto, Canada, Germany, Denmark, Italy, Spain, Ukraine. So a lot of questions. Who knows? South Korea fan, do you support an English soccer club?
Say the right name. Say the right name. This is
only by default, and because it was Tottenham only because of Son, but before that it was Manchester United because of Park Ji-sung on the team. So basically I just follow wherever the Koreans go. But aside from that, I'm not really that much into the Premier. I'm too much focused on World Cup play. But yes, in order to be a good World Cup fan, also got to know the Premier, got to know MLS, everything. You got to know some random division team in some third world country even.
Yeah, but soccer fans don't have a problem with that. So as of right now, it looks like U.S. men's national team great Michael Bradley is being honored right before it, but it looks like the teams are out on the pitch. Congratulations to Michael Bradley, a USMNT absolute legend. So before we start this one, let's go ahead and get our predictions real quick. And so we'll start with you, Joe. What is your prediction tonight? South Korea versus the United States.
1-0 USA.
All right. I'm going to go 2-1 to the United States, although I think there's going to be a late winner. I don't know who that late winner is going to be. A big part of me thinks that I want to say Christian Pulisic, but that being said, I think I'm going to say Josh Sargent's finally going to get on the board tonight. But that being said, chat as well too. You let me know exactly what you guys feel about tonight's match and who do you think is going to win. And it looks like Dan Davenport's already checked in with a 3-1 U.S. victory tonight. That's awesome. I love it. But the interesting thing is it's going to be whether or not the U.S. are going to be able to break down Korea's backline, because it looks like they're going to be set up in a defensive heavy formation. And the interesting thing is for me at least, is whether or not they're going to be able to deal with Kim Min-jae.
Oh, I think South Korea is doing their national anthem.
Yeah.
No, it's USA.
Yeah.
USA is doing it, so we all got to stand and do it.
Nah, it's all good. We're not gonna stand for the national
I'll
anthem.
do it for both. I'm not gonna
there you go.
sing.
But that's what I'm a little worried about, right? Because that dude's the real deal, and I understand he's not a starter for Bayern Munich. But that being said, he's also not a punk either. He's actually a very good, technically gifted center back that plays for Bayern Munich. And the question of whether or not, Josh Sargent's going to be able to get himself in good positions, whether he is going to be able to play off his shoulder. But that being said, I also am curious to see exactly how this midfield is going to operate. Because again, no Weston McKennie, no Malik Tillman, no Yunus Musa. And instead, we have Sebastian Berhalter playing, outside of Tyler Adams, and so he's almost going to be that box to box, that high roving deep line playmaker right there. And whether or not the U.S. can be direct, don't know. Or is this going to be what we saw in the Gold Cup, where it's going to be heavy possession based, and they're going to be trying to attack with their wing backs, Serginho Dest and Max Robson. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this team is going to be able to attack. Because I would probably assume the U.S. is going to have a bulk of the possession tonight. So for me, that's going to be the keys to the game. It's like, what version of the U.S. men's national team we're going to get tonight? Is it going to be direct? Is it going to be taking advantage of the chances that are going to be given to them, and can they convert those chances, or is this going to be what we saw during Nations League, which was a U.S. men's national team that looked like they just didn't give a shit. So we are going to find out very quickly, and we're very close to kick here. And it's interesting that you said 1-0 the United States, and so I assume that you don't have the confidence in Son Heung-Min tonight scoring goals.
No, I don't think because he even struggles to score even in qualifiers, and someone else has ended up doing it because Son Heung-Min is basically a decoy. And for someone that's 34 years old, that's what I'm going to expect. And if it was a 2-1 finish, it's going to be United States takes the lead 2-0, making a convincing victory. And then at stoppage time, Korea will accidentally score, have it like that consolation kind of goal. That is at least my prediction. Now, before we begin, I guess I have a question is, what is your most favorite USA World Cup goal you ever saw in your life?
Ooh. Oh, there's a bunch, right? Brian McBride versus Portugal in 2002. Clint Dempsey, his World Cup debut goal in 2006. Landon.
Oh, the DeMarcus Beasley when he escaped from Ghana, and then he had an amazing cross, and then Dempsey just buried it, and he was dancing, and then 2 minutes later, Ghana scores.
Landon against Algeria in 2010. Clint again. I think that was against England in 2014.
The Robert Green mistake.
For me, though, it was I want to say Ernie Stewart versus Colombia in '94, and that sent us into the round of 16 in '94. That was a special one. Eric Winalda against Switzerland in the same World Cup, man, that was absolutely beautiful. But I think I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna go Brian McBride against Portugal in 2002.
Before I talk about my favorite one, since you brought up Colombia, rest in peace Escobar with that own goal that led to the end of his life. Andres Escobar. I have friends in Colombia that also tell me about it, and they told me how terrified they were reading that story. Yeah. Now, my favorite World Cup goal of all time, it was in my graduation party. It was like 4 a.m. against Greece.
Christian in 2022, and I think that was against. I think that might have been against England in 2022. Yeah, there were some great goals.
Mine was 2010, where Ki Sung-young had a kind of like a corner kick, but it was like a foul off the side, so it basically was a corner kick. He kicked it, and Lee Jong-soo came out of nowhere, and then he kicked it in for the goal, and I was literally screaming, and I was just running around the entire. We were like in some arcade place, and everyone in my graduating class was like, "What the bleep is he doing? Just dancing like an idiot." I was like, "It was World Cup." And by the way, game has begun. The match has begun, and United States has possession. So I'm watching it myself.
So as of right now, the U.S. are going to be in their heartbeat kits, playing from right to left, and we are off underway here at Red Bull Arena as the U.S. will have possession as that ball is going to be played deep, and it looks like it's going to get over the head of Max Harpston, but the U.S. now retain possession as that ball is played back to Tim Ream. And now it gets played over to Tristan Blackman as they try to reset here. As Serginho Dest gets pressured and the ball gets played out. And I believe this is going to get out for a South Korea throw-in. Very good.
Is. I'm at 51 seconds, so I think I'm ahead of you. But I will keep my mouth zippy.
All right. Well, you can also hit pause, and I will let you know when I get to 55 seconds. As this ball is going to get played in now. It looks like that's going to get out, and I think it's going to be, again, another South Korea throw-in as I'm approaching 55 seconds now.
Let me know when you get to minute 14.
Will do. As that ball gets played back, and Korea will reset here. And, of course, Korea is wearing their red kits. As that ball is going to get played forward down the right-hand side, stepped in front of it by Max Harpston, and now the U.S. will try to take control. It's going to be Timmy Weah off the left-hand side. And it looks like the U.S. are trying to play fast. And I'm now at a minute 21. Sorry about that.
Oh, boy. Now I'm at minute 44. Actually, even if I hit play, it's still going to go automatic. So
Oh,
I
okay.
will. I
No
will watch it as if you have the call. You're the play-by-play man. I'm the color
Sure.
guy.
And it looks like the U.S. now are going to be trying to mount their build-up off the right-hand side as that ball's going to try to get played forward. But no dice right there as Carrillo now will play it back to Joe in net. But good on the U.S. here as Josh Sargent looks like he's trying to press the ball as that ball is going to get played all the way up. Good tackle right there by South Korea as they're going to try to play this one forward. And there's Sonny. But there is a whistle.
Looks like it could be an offsides call.
Oh, and Sonny actually had that one broke free, and Matt Freeze did a very good job of trying to breaking it up. But as we see it right here, oh yeah, that's going to be a whistle, and it looks like that might be against Tyler Adams.
Quite a late call. And speak of goalkeepers, who's your most favorite USA goalkeeper? I'll tell you mine. My favorite for USA was Brad Friedel of 2002.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I got two. For the run of play, I got Tim Howard. Tim Howard physically was the best goalkeeper in U.S. history. Best technically, but if you're looking for a shootout goalkeeper, Brad Friedel 10 times out of 10. As this will be a free kick right here for Korea as that ball is going to get whipped in to the back post, unmarked. As he cuts in. Oh, that's good. Taken away right there by Tyler Adams. And that ball is going to get played out.
I was just like, shoot the dang ball already. Unless he didn't have the angle for it, but I was like, just take a shot and see what happens.
Ooh, as that ball was it looks like it was going to be played forward right there. And it looked like that might have been for Josh Sargent right there, but unfortunately that ball was taken away. And now Korea will reset. But I do remember Copa America 95. The U.S. and Mexico were invited down to, I believe it was played in Argentina. And in the quarterfinals, the U.S. beat Mexico in one of the physicalest games I think I can ever remember between the two hosts, between the two nations. And Brad Friedel absolutely shut down Mexico in a shootout there in the quarterfinals. I still remember it. It was a brilliant performance. And here comes Korea now on the break.
Now it makes me wonder why Casey Keller got dibs in '98 over Brad Friedel until the third game against Yugoslavia.
Because Keller was already playing in the Premier League by that point. I think he was with Tottenham in '98. So, he was playing either for Blackburn or Tottenham at that point in time. But that being said, he was in the Premier League. And Friedel came to the Premier League a little bit later. But at that point, you can understand why Sampson chose him for the '98 Cup. As it looks like Korea now is going to be in possession now as they make their way across the half line as that ball is going to get played into Heung-Min. And it looks like that ball is going to be headed out for a Korea throw. And I believe that was Tristan Blackman who headed that one out right there. So this is Tristan Blackman's first cap at 29 years old for the U.S. men's national team, a controversial inclusion to the U.S. men's national team. But that being said, he's actually had a pretty phenomenal year for the Vancouver Whitecaps. But again, a lot of first looks under Pochettino for Major League Soccer. Interesting. I can't believe Chris Richards didn't start tonight, but I digress. And it looks like South Korea here is kind of dealing with the U.S. high press right now as that ball is going to be played down the right-hand side. And it looks like that's going to get out for a U.S. throw-in right here. So I like what Korea is doing right now with the ball, trying to get that ball forward, testing the U.S. back line. I like it because, if you're Korea, you want to find out. You want to know whether or not that U.S. back line is going to hold up, right? So I like the idea of pinging balls forward, using the width, using the length to try to get Heung-Min on the ball. So far, U.S. back line has held up, but good press right there as that goes out for a goal kick. And you got to. I'm actually kind of impressed by Korea's speed.
So far for now, but granted, it is only 4 minutes into this match. Things change fast.
Matt Freeze will play this long down the right-hand side, and it looks like that's going to get out Korea throw. Actually, no, it's going to be a U.S. throw-in, so it was tipped out. And now there's going to be some action down. Here's Serginho Dest. Now that ball's going to get played forward, flick back. And and it looks like that might have been Christian. That ball's going to get played in. Here's Sargent. Plays it underneath. And now they're going to try to clear this one. But that's going to be held in right there. And here comes Korea now on the break. Taken away. Wow, good play right there. As the U.S. will hold that in. It was Tyler Adams. And here's Diego Luna, who's going to play it down to Christian off the left-hand side. That's a good tackle right there in the midfield. But I believe there's going to be a whistle. Play has resumed here. And it'll be Serginho Dest. And now that ball is going to get played all the way back to Matt Freese as the U.S. is going to have to reset here. So far, the U.S. really has not been able to, I guess, get comfortable in the attack. Their buildup has kind of stalled somewhere in the mid as they're actually trying to utilize the wings a little bit, but Korea's done a very good job with their mid block. Speaking of which, here's Serginho Dest now racing up the right-hand side. Ball played in, trying to find Josh Sargent. But Korea now will clear it, but there is a whistle. And it looks like Tyler Adams is the guilty party here. That was a nice little through ball right here by Serginho Dest. Looks like he was trying to free Josh. Good defense right there, and it looked like it was our boy from Bayern Munich right there. So we're about 8.5, coming up to 8.5 minutes here in the first half. Both sides look like they're just trying to feel each other out. I'm kind of enjoying the U.S. and what they're trying to accomplish here. Trying to be direct from the wing. I kind of like it. It feels like they're getting some through balls there. Credit South Korea because they've done a very good job of shutting it down. But on the other side, Korea themselves, when they try to get forward, it's usually a lot of balls from the back, trying to test out Seattle, trying to test out the U.S.'s back line. And so far, the U.S. has held up. So it's as of right now, 9 minutes in, it just feels like it's a chess match.
Nothing much happening so far, with the exception of a couple heart attack moments when Heung-Min almost really had a shot, but then your goalkeeper, he was there and ready.
Yep. Yeah, that was the thing, is that ball played forward, found Son Heung-Min 1v1 against Freese, and Freese came off his line to actually make a nice play. But that being said, there was a whistle on the play, and I guess I have to be honest when I say that I was never been happier to have a whistle in that moment. Son Heung-Min 1v1 versus Matt Freese is not a good percentage for Matt Freese.
Not a good matchup.
Not a good matchup. This play looks like it's about to resume here. And it looks like Joe is telling the Korean team to play a little deeper, as that ball is going to get played all the way down the left-hand side. That was good on Serginho Dest, but here we go. Breakthrough into the box. Good defense right there. And by Serginho Dest, and it looks like this one's going to get out for Korea's first corner. Good defense by Serginho. As that was a good one-touch pass right there to free up. Looks like it was Lee Jae-sung off the left-hand side.
And Korea's success rate in the corner kicks is not exactly any good. Out of all corner kicks that they have performed, they have only scored once out of corner kicks.
As that ball was played short, and it looks like that ball's actually going to be held into the box here. And now that errant pass goes behind, and the U.S. now will try to counter. And they just play it forward and clear it. And it looks like Joe will come out here to handle that one. And now Korea is going to try to attack quickly again down the left-hand side, but there's Matt Freese. Not bad for Korea there. As Matt Arfston now will pass this in to Sebastian Berhalter. And finally, it's Tim Ream now. Korea's done a very good job of pressing, as the U.S. has had a hard time. Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Something I'm not exactly used to. I'm usually not used to them pressing, especially against the United States. But here's the other thing too. Soccer is like the bottom of like something that I have like the most knowledge. Soccer is unfortunately like the least. The most is obviously baseball, but like soccer is like I'm the opposite. I'm like more of a casual fan, but I'll still roll out content once in a while, and I'm still going to do my live play-by-plays for them.
Yeah, whatever gets you into the soccer tent is it's important, right? And I like the fact that it's a different flavor from the U.S. men's national team, as you're hyper focused on the KFA, I mean, South Korea is one of those teams where come World Cup time, they're generally competitive.
With the exception of 2014 was when they were not so competitive, especially when Algeria absolutely humiliated them 4-2. I still get visions of that once in a while, especially when Hong comes back. I've been thinking about 2014 quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, but the U.S. has had those World Cups as well, too, 98, 06, and then, of course, the debacle of not even qualifying for 2018. So, we have those moments as well, too. So, but that being said, it looks like that ball was played off the right-hand side, so Korea now will have to throw in.
At least I'm proud to say in majority of the World Cups Korea was in. They've had a lot of first-round finishes, but in majority of those, they at least had an opportunity in the third match to qualify.
Yeah, I guess the measuring stick for some nations is getting out of the group. But that being said, even if you don't have the strongest team, getting points in the group. Oh, that ball's turned over high. There's a shot on net. Ooh, save.
Yeah, there's a huge save by Cho Hyun-woo. I saw that. Was having a heart attack and trying to look at the replay and see how that was in cause. It was a turnover, basically. So it was basically a brain fart moment by the defense, which the defense has been known to do. They have been known to give the ball away. And it happened in 2014 where Korea's striker was on the defensive end because he was just trying to get the ball out. As soon as he passes, got intercepted by Belgium immediately, and then they scored.
Yeah, and it looked like it came off a high press right there. And Sebastian Berhalter,
he had a really good shot too.
Yeah. So good first opportunity there from outside the 18, which is something that the U.S. doesn't really do a lot, long distance shots. So that's actually nice to see. But here comes Korea now as they're trying to trying to work in the buildup, playing out of the back, and of course the U.S. right there and pressing. But now they're going to try to go down the left-hand side here, as Serginho Dest locks up the wing right there, and looks like South Korea has to reset here. They're testing him though. That ball's going to get played in. 1v1 against Tim Ream. Here's the shot. Ooh, nice save right there. And it looked like it was Jason Dong, maybe. Actually, that might have been Pak. Park
Seung-ho, possibly.
Yeah. As now here comes the U.S. in transition, playing centrally too. Here's Josh Sargent. As Blackman will play it over. Here's Tim Ream. As that's going to make it over to Timmy Way off the left-hand side. On the overlap is Arfston. As they're going to have to play this one back. Here's Blackman. Here's Tyler Adams. As the U.S. are trying to find a way in here. That's a good move.
Just trying to get through.
Oh, as they try to play one in right there to Josh Sargent, who Looks like you got tripped up right there. As Saba will play it all the way out to the left now. Here's Luna. Here's Timmy Weah. Played it in. Ooh, it deflected into Joe. That's a nice little give and go right there off the left-hand side.
That's now 2 saves for Jo Hyun-woo with shots on target.
Yep. Between Diego Luna right there and Timmy Weah. As that ball now is going to get played a little centrally. And Korea will hold possession off the left-hand side now. Korea's a very good technical side too. They don't. They're very good in space, but it looks like trying to get into that attacking third. Here comes. Oh, here's an opportunity right here for Korea. Shoots, scores. Oh, and it looks like it's Sunny. Oh, Sunny.
Unexpected. Did not expect that at all. And now I wonder if this is going to go into VAR because there might be a case that he may have been just offsides.
As that ball was played in beautifully for Sunny. And of course, he still has that good first step, creates his own space and puts one on net and plays it. And oh yeah, looks like he might be.
Yeah, just by like a hair.
And of course, Sunny off that left-hand side. That was played in beautifully. So we will find out if this goal will stand. But that being said, man, that was a gorgeous goal by Sunny off the left-hand side. Beautifully weighted pass into the box.
Oh, no VAR. They didn't even bother reviewing it. Maybe they did review it. They're like, nah, they're good.
As that looks
but
like,
I will take it.
The goal stands.
Like already, Korea has already exceeded my expectations today. Already.
As Korea takes a 1-0 lead right now as we're pushing minute 20. And the U.S. already down. So
yeah, I got to remind myself that was around 50 minutes when that happened.
So I guess the Tristan Blackman experiment has already come and gone as he was absolutely burned. As here now Korea all of a sudden is pressing high as Serginho Dest gets one tipped out, so it'll be a U.S. throw in here. As that ball will be played all the way out to Tim Ream. Good pass centrally. And it's going to be Timmy Weah now. He's going to play it forward. Here comes Max Arston now across the halfway line. Max is going to try to play one forward. He does. And it's Christian off the left-hand side. Christian trying to play one in. That one's going to get deflected out. So it'll be a U.S. corner here. Good defense for Korea at this point. But goddamn, like you would hope that the U.S. wouldn't concede early. Because
isn't historically speaking, though, that United States are known for giving up the early goal? Like 2010, they gave up goals within like 5 minutes, and I think 2014 they had that problem too.
As that ball's going to get whipped in, and that's going to get headed out. And running back, I think this one's going to go out of play for a throw-in. Yeah, I guess. But that being said, it's like you would hope that the back line would hold up a little bit better, so it gives their attack a little bit more opportunity to actually take the lead first. But that being said, man, now all of a sudden the United States are now playing under pressure. As that ball is going to they're going to try to ping this one forward. Good defense right there by Korea. Held in. And it's Diego Luna. That ball is going to try to get played forward. Trying to find Josh Sargent. Looks like that one's going to go out. That'll be a U.S. throw-in. Even against Mexico, they didn't concede early. But then again, we didn't necessarily have that strong of a team on the field to begin with. But eventually Mexico's talent won out. You just kind of hope that their back line would at least come good long enough to give them at least the opportunity to score first. But such is life. Here's Luna. As he's shading a little bit more centrally. As that gets played all the way to the left, and it's Arvston. Here's Luna. Luna's going to try to play one to the right side. Not that great of a switch, but the U.S. will hold it in. As there's nothing there for Dest. Bearhalter. It's Luna. It's Weah. Damn it, just play one in for Christ's sake.
A lot of passing back at each other, really.
For sure. It's like there's no forward movement.
It's like they don't really know what to do.
Yeah, they're trying to find space, but every single time they try to find space, there's two red jerseys that converge on the ball. And now they're going to have to play this one all the way back. As Blackman will have to play this back, and Freeze has to quickly play one, and that goes out, so it'll be a Korea throw. And so complete waste of a possession right there for the U.S. men's national team, as they just could not find space. Like the idea is possession and then trying to occupy space that's not there, trying to get players on the ball, but you have to make runs in order for that to happen. It's like there's absolutely no bravery when they're on the ball. Here's Korea now. And Korea will play this one back. But again, Korea has no problem getting forward. They have no problem trying to play guys onto the ball, as it was displayed right there by Sun Heung-Min, as Sunny did a very good job. And that's why Korea leads 1-0 at this point. And there's Arvston trying to climb the ladder. Does a good job of getting possession back. And here's Serginho Dest. And Tyler Adams play this back to Freeze. And the U.S. will reset again. And I'm sorry, it's like, Tristan Blackman is not good enough to be on the field right now. Playing next to a guy like Tim Ream, back in Major League Soccer with Charlotte, it's already like, granted, yeah, he's probably the best center back with the ball at his feet, but he's also 38 years old. So you kind of need to pair him with at least a strong center back pairing. And, that's Chris Richards. But Pochettino just decided that was the way to go. And it turned out that Sun Heung-Min takes advantage of it. Here comes Korea now. Off the left-hand side, there's a shot that goes wide of the left post right there.
I thought there was another chance. I was like, 2-0? No way.
Oh.
Or 2-0, sorry. It has to take 2-0.
And it looks like Sonny's down on the turf now as we watch this one again. Yeah, Sonny was dropping a little deep there to make a touch. He kind of gets run over there. Looks like he gets run over by Tyler Adams. And of course, those two know each other from Sonny's playing days in the Premier League with Tyler at Bournemouth. As that ball gets played out of bounds, it'll be a U.S. throw-in. Let's see, we have Rich Rod here who says, I know we're all down on Triple G because we were beating teams we should beat only 1-0, but at least we were winning. The interesting thing, though, is that, Triple G was that ball's taken away. Here comes Korea now trying to, good play right there by Tim Ream as that ball was trying to play it in on the overlap. As they tried to get Josh Sargent on the ball right there, trying to take advantage of space. And here's Luna taking one away. Here's Josh Sargent. It's Christian. Pulisic plays it forward. Timmy Weah! Save. Ooh.
It was an offsides call too.
Yeah, it was offside. You know, the
Hey,
problem
Wayne.
with Triple G. Yep. The problem was up Wayne Bonner. Good guy right there. The problem with Triple G was the fact, and Timmy Way was way offside. The problem with Triple G is he was absolutely married to his tactics. He was stubborn in that. Way. But that being said, I guess we were better in CONCACAF. But that being said, I still think we're better. The biggest issue right now is confidence and form. We're just not playing with confidence, and a lot of some of these guys are just not in the best form right now, which makes it hard. But that being said, I mean, if Gio Reyna, McKennie, and Musa were in camp, I mean, would you feel confident of them playing, even knowing that they're not in form? Probably not. As U.S. will hold possession here. Don't get me wrong. I think all four of those guys should be in camp, by the way. As that ball's being played a little centrally right here. Here's Luna. As Luna holds possession. Here's Serginho Dest up the right-hand side. Dest 1v2. It's Luna. Luna, you got to play one in, bud. As that ball's taken away from Serginho Dest. That was good defense by Korea. Now they're going to try to play one long. It's Sonny. It's Tim Ream. And it's Tim Ream who wins that battle right there. Damn. Again, playing that long ball. As Sonny's attacking channels. Tristan Blackman has absolutely been overmatched in this first half. Well, let's see. As here's Rich Rod, who says, our A team isn't dedicated to the nation. Are we going to get a string of games? I would hope so. But that being said, I think that might be a little harsh if they're not dedicated. I just think that this generation is entitled. I think that they have, especially under Berhalter, I think, the inmates ran the asylum a little bit. But that being said, I think a lot of things really. The fact that this specifically in this cycle, we don't have World Cup qualifying. Here comes Timmy Weah. And Weah's going to play this one out to the right-hand side. Here's Dest. 1v1. That ball's going to get played into the back post. There's nobody there as that gets out. The interesting thing is, specifically in this one, there's no World Cup qualifying. But when you also look at the fact that the World Cup has expanded, the U.S. no longer have the hex anymore, right? And that was one of the things that, at the very least, when you look at former cycles with some of the former national teams, at the very least, they were prepared for a World Cup. And by mid-cycle, the core of the team was there. A lot of those guys you were going to see on the World Cup, right? And for the most part, every window those guys came in, with the exception of a few different positions, because you're going to give guys a look. But that being said, it's like that was the biggest problem with this window. Number one, we didn't have qualifying, so there was nothing to compete for. And also, number two, I just think that when it comes to these young players, I think there is a potential sense of entitlement, especially some of the guys that weren't MLS trained, and some of those guys that got opportunities without potentially having to go through traditional U.S. routes.
Do you think?
I still feel like they're still incredibly talented.
Do you think for the expanded World Cup teams, do you think that it makes the competition any easier, or do you think it's just or it may just draw in more good teams that barely couldn't make it to the World Cup, like Europe? Like, there's teams out there in Europe where if you put them in any other conference, they'll easily make the World Cup. So there's it could go like either way, right?
Yeah, Uzbekistan punched their ticket, Paraguay punched their ticket. I would probably assume that Ireland and Scotland might punch their ticket when normally they probably wouldn't. And I think that actually is beneficial for a U.S. team that because if they can get out of the group, their first knockout round will probably be against a team that they're probably going to be able to beat, which means then the fifth round becomes the round of 16 where you start getting maybe some more difficult
better teams.
Yeah,
and the other thing too is you can still qualify for knockout stage as a third place in the group
team.
too.
Yeah, correct. And so I think that's going to be beneficial for a team like the U.S. because they won't have to meet the Netherlands in the round of 32. So so I think that's going to be beneficial for the first round of the knockouts, and I also think it works into their favor as well too because of home field advantage. And all you have to do is be hot coming into the World Cup. If they can string together some wins, and all of a sudden you have that home field advantage, and you're not have to face the degree of difficulty won't be until the round of 16. You have you're going to have at least 4 matches to really kind of get yourself into a groove. By the time you do hit a Netherlands or a European power or a South American power, you're probably going to be ready for it. Here comes Korea now.
United States seems to be parking the bus a bit.
And it looks like it also might benefit a team like South Korea as well, too, for the exact same reasons.
Yeah, you would think that with more expanded, unless they get drawn into a team like Italy, because if Italy gets drawn in with Korea, that Italy's going to go balls out against Korea because their fathers are going to say, hey, avenge our failures in 2002. Which the U20 Italian team did kind of in the 2023 U20 World Cup. Korea and Italy were drawn, and Italy defeated them. And the way I made a joke saying, yep, that was Italy avenging their daddy's failures.
That's the thing, Rich. I don't want to question the heart or the dedication because I would like to assume that when you put on the U.S. crest, it means a little bit more than the ego. But that being said, I just it's interesting. I just think there's a lot of things at play this window, specifically starting with the Gio Reyna debacle, which the U.S. wasted 8 months bringing Greg back, and then what we saw in 2024 at the Copa America. I think there was a lot of things that are in play that has led to this point. But that being said, all of this goes away with a good performance in the World Cup. All of it goes away. And I think that the fan base will come back.
I would think they'll be back because World Cup is World Cup. People will be there.
Correct. And I think
it's all about the years. It's all about the years in between when fan bases, I guess, are tested.
Yeah, and I think that I think fans are going to get revved up pre-World Cup because it is a World Cup on home soil. But that being said, I also will say this, that I think we also have to remember that Mauricio Pochettino attached his name and his career to the U.S. men's national team, and if he wants to continue coaching at a high level at the club game, he cannot afford to get grouped in the World Cup. And that's why I think even though that there's still roster tinkering and we're pretty damn close to it anyway, that those that we expect to be at the World Cup will be at the World Cup because I don't think that he can afford to have a bad showing in the World Cup. That's just my take.
Especially if you're hosting the World Cup too.
I think this MLS, the showing the flag for the MLS is probably for the last 6 positions on the roster. Trying to find out if he can find some guys he might be able to trust down on the back end of the roster. But I think he knows who his at least core 15 are.
Got 9 minutes until the half is over. And then once half is over, I'll have to take off.
Sure.
And I'll have to head home. But if there is, I'll try to get home by let's say 3:30 my time. That will be just before the Mariners game, which I'm also doing. I'll hop on for pretty much whatever remains.
Yeah, and that's right because we're doing the double tonight. So after this one, I'll be hopping on Rooftop Sports for the Mariners game tonight. So yeah, that's right. It is the USMNT Seattle Mariner double tonight. So make sure you hop over to
Tomorrow I'm
Rooftop
having
Sports.
a Mariners and Seahawks double.
Yeah, make sure you head over to Rooftop Sports and hit the like and subscribe buttons as well too, as Joe himself has a phenomenal channel dedicated to Seattle sports. So let's see, this current team worries me. I feel like it's hit or miss, but I do guess for World Cup purposes, it's worth the risk. Maybe we get lucky and they get hot versus Triple G. I guess, yeah, maybe. The interesting thing is I still think that this team is talented enough to at least get to a quarterfinal, and if they do, then it's, I hate to say it's kind of a success. Because if they get to a quarterfinal, that means they're good enough to potentially get a eke out a win and put themselves in the semifinal. But for me, that's my bench line is at least getting to the quarterfinals. The U.S. tries to find their way in the box. Now here comes South Korea, and
That's what I also expect out of South Korea for Son's possible last World Cup, unless his legs are basically like Cristiano Ronaldo's. I also expect a quarterfinals finish as the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's group stage. Although I want worst case scenario to be the last 16 or like the round of 32.
Yeah, and I expect this to be Sebastian Berhalter actually put a hip check on Sonny right there. I actually expect this to be Son's final World Cup with South Korea, and I would expect that come the end of the 2026 MLS calendar, then he's probably going to hang up his boots. After this, I don't think there's really anything left to play for. I can't see him hanging around till 2030.
No, he'll be 38 by then.
Yeah, I can't see that. As the U.S. here are trying to at least trying to get on the board before the half. Here's Arfston. That's a nice little. As that ball is going to get poked away, as Arfston was dilly-dallying right there at the central part. And here's Sonny trying to break off of Arfston. Oh, that's a good play right there. Looks like that was Berhalter. Berhalter's kind of been a little physical today. I don't know what to make of that. It looks like Pipe might be the number 10, as he was down there actually after getting a hip check right there by Sebastian Berhalter. I like that the U.S. is not afraid to get physical, but that being said, the speed itself is something that they have yet, I guess, managed to deal with. Korea's attacking speed. They're playing good balls in, and it feels like Tristan Blackman has been overran by Sonny, as Tim Ream will come down with that ball. As we're approaching the 40th minute here. And here's Tyler. And they try to play one down to Max Arfston, and he immediately hits Tim Ream. There you go. Play one centrally. Here's Serginho Dest trying to cut to the inside. He beats his man. Here's Dest. Shoots. Oh, as Weah just misses the far post. As that's the U.S.'s best opportunity right here. As
I was feeling it too.
As Dest went 1v1, beats his man around the corner, plays one in. It dinks around, but it hits Timmy Weah. And Weah could put one on just wide of the post. Oh, Timmy, as Luna actually had to jump over the ball right there. Rich Rod goes on to say right here, we expect a knockout round game, but maybe that's the peak. Yeah, I still think that of the three host nations, the U.S. actually has the best opportunity to have a surprise run just because of the talent.
What about Mexico?
Yeah, here's the weird part, right? Like, Mexico's playing better under Javier Aguirre, but again, I'm not a big believer in their back line against the rest of the world or their midfield, even though that they've kind of they got their midfield situation taken care of. But that being said, it's, Mexico is going to be a team that's going to get out of the groups, but whether or not they can advance and make a run, I don't know. And I think Canada, of the three squads, are the team that's most likely to get grouped of the three. But that being said, when you look at the US's talent and their, as far as like their ceiling, this is their second cycle with a lot of these guys. They've already played in a World Cup together, so they know exactly what to expect. And I just think that because of that, there's the potential for something, tasty to go down, as that ball was played in beautifully. And South Korea now. Good hold-up play right there by Korea. I just think that their talent. Oh, that's a good ball in. Played forward. Oh, boy. And Korea just scored again right before the half. Oh.
Unexpected. Did not expect this to happen. This is like reverse of what we're all expecting.
Oh. And of course, there's the Tottenham jerseys. There's the Korean flags. There's the second goal. As we see this again, it was actually stellar hold-up play that allowed this to happen. That ball was played in beautifully, and then Sonny just makes a nice little flick as he was played back. And it looked like Tim Ream came out to challenge it right there, but Sonny, smart, lays it off to a runner right there. And it was that was a nice little flick in as everyone was taken kind of off guard right there. And now it's 2-0 Korea right before the half.
So the question is Korea either playing well or is United States just playing awful?
So it's Dong Young with the goal right there. Dong Young Lee or Lee Dong Young.
Yeah, something like that.
So now all of a sudden it's 2-0 South Korea. As the U.S. has a lot of catching up to do, and I would probably expect that Mauricio Pochettino is going to have to make some changes. Although that being said, the decision to start Tristan Blackman in this one made absolutely no sense when you have Chris Richards in camp. Let's see. Rich Rod says, "Is Freeze the answer in goal?" Here's the thing, right? I don't think it matters because I think all of those guys, whether it's Chris Brady, Matt Turner, or Matt Freeze, I think they're all on the same level in some ways. But I think Freeze.
Who was the goalkeeper in 2022 for USA?
Matt Turner, who's with the New England back with the Revs. Hasn't been playing bad for the Rev, but was not in this camp, right? So that's it's interesting. But I would probably say that yes, Matt Freeze probably. I expect Matt Turner to be at the World Cup, by the way. But that being said, I don't think this is an indictment on Matt Freeze tonight. I think the back line has played terribly tonight. Let's see. He goes on to say that the USMNT has been rough this year. Yeah, this last year has been bad, man. It's been really bad.
South Korea hasn't been. They've actually been at least in okay shape. Certainly better than what it was in 23 and 24. That's when Korea was in really bad shape.
And Wayne Bonner is asking, is Poch playing his first choice team? No, he's not at all. Again, Malik Tillman didn't get called in. McKinney didn't get called in. Musa didn't get called in. So a lot of big names were left off this one. Pepe. It's understandable because Pepe is just coming back from injury. So, and A-Rob is just coming back from injury as well too. So from that standpoint, you expect some bigger names to be in camp, but instead we're seeing guys from Major League Soccer who probably should not be on this team right now. Considering we're so close to the World Cup, we have to have our best 11 in camp. It's unfortunate. Here comes the U.S. though, as that ball is going to get played down to Diego Luna. Here's Luna. As Luna's looking for somewhere to go here. Here's Christian Christian's going to play one, and that goes over the bar. And he's looking for
Only
he's looking
seconds
for a
left
penalty.
until the end of this half.
As Christian's looking for a whistle. He thinks there should have been something right there. That's funny. He said, "Did Luna gain weight?" Hopefully he has, but in terms of muscle mass. But yeah, no, I feel like sometimes I actually think that as well too. Did Luna gain weight? My time against the Braves, huh? The Bravos, huh? Yeah, maybe. As that ball is going to come down to Korea here. And it looks like we're approaching the end of the half right here. So that's going to do it as South Korea takes a commanding 2-0 lead into the half here. Again, not exactly surprised that Sonny was the one that got the first goal. I'm not exactly surprised with the state of things for this half here in New Jersey. This back line was ill-conceived, and I'll be the first one to say it, that, when you bring in Chris Richards must play. Unless Richards is dealing with a knock or something like that, he is your best defender, and he should be on the pitch. And if you want to give Tristan Blackmon a look, you bring him late in the game. You cannot play from behind the 8-ball. By starting a guy like Tristan Blackmon. I'm sorry, it is what it is, right? Same thing with no Kai Banks. But that being said, now all of a sudden Coach has to adjust now at the half. And I'm expecting at least 3 changes for Pochettino at the half to at least see if the U.S. men's national team can at least get on the board and make it a halfway respectable scoreline. But I know you got to go here, Joe. So your thoughts on the first half?
Very surprised. I liked how Korea came out very, very aggressively, but then it's good that they also exploited the fact that it looks like their backfield, United States backfield, was pretty much just off. And it's good to see Son score a goal. Like, didn't think it was happening for a split second. Thought, I was like, could this be an offsides call? But I guess not. But second half, I know, right? Second half could be different. You just never know. So all I can say to Korea is just keep it up and keep it going, so they could keep raising their confidence and bring it into the 2026 World Cup.
What I will say is Korea's been the better team in this first half. The fact that they're playing brave and they're not afraid to ping balls forward, trying to get it on the foot of some of their best attackers, and that's something that the United States has had trouble with in their half. At least trying to get forward and trying to get their best players in good attacking positions. And I guess a lot of that has to do with the fact that Korea is actually playing very good defense right now. So it's interesting. The United States looks like they hold possession, but again, I don't give a shit about possession. It's what you do with the ball, not how long you hold the ball up for. So in that sense, the United States just a bad first half, and Korea took advantage of it. So I'll tell you what, I do want to say thank you for joining me here in the first half. And as soon as this one's over, I'll be hopping over to Rooftop Sports. And of course, guys, make sure you head over to Rooftop Sports and give Joe a like and subscribe. I think you'll definitely enjoy his channel as he puts out actually very unbelievable, good content over there.
I appreciate it. And then just a heads up, I actually have Jay Trident in my first 5 innings. Ooh. If you're still awake, there is a spot open after the 5th inning.
Just send me a link and I'll head over there, man. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, off I go, and thank you very much.
Yep. Have a great time, guy. All right. So the U.S. absolutely stunk it up in the first half as we get into stats. Before I get into the stats, though, quickly, Rich Rod says, will America ever get a player capable of taking over a game themselves? We need a real 9. Yes. The question is whether you believe Christian Pulisic is that type of guy. I believe he has the capability. But again, theoretically speaking, we should have the 9s to be able to score, right? I do believe in Flo Balogun, and I do believe in Ricardo Pepi. But that being said, Flo's here. And I'm surprised Flo actually didn't get a start tonight. I was somewhat expecting Flo in this one to start this one. It made sense. But of course, Josh obviously is absolutely red hot for Norwich City right now. So it makes sense that he started. But the question is how much do you guys believe in Christian Pulisic? That's the question, right? Let's see. How have the U.S. been playing, and what changes need? Well, first and foremost, the U.S. actually has been playing piss poor in this first half. Let's just say what it is. Okay, ill-conceived backline. Starting Tristan Blackman was an absolute shambolic decision from Poch, especially when you have one of the better defenders in the Premier League, in Chris Richards, who, by the way, is playing as one of the better defenders in the Premier League at Crystal Palace, and he is your best defender. And you're starting Tristan Blackman over him because you want to give him a look. Doesn't make any sense. So from that standpoint, Korea has exploited that fact, and that is obvious. But also in the attack, it just has not worked out. As the U.S. have been trying to play this high possession-based football instead of just trying to play guys forward. And it's unfortunate because we actually do have some guys who, if you put them on runs and attack channels, we probably would see some shots on goals. But outside of that, we have one, maybe two shots on goal in that first half. Absolutely shambolic. I want to welcome, Danny Bro 147 Sports. What's up, my guy? Good to see you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe buttons. And Greg Perez, hot take maybe, but we are just bad. Backline is piss poor. Yeah, here's the weird thing, right? I agree with you. That backline really is shitty. And the fact that Tristan Blackman got the start tonight, it's inexcusable. Now, here's the thing. I like Major League Soccer. I do. But I'm also not naive enough to compare it to any of the top five leagues in Europe. Okay, let's just get that out of the way, right? This is not me shilling for Major League Soccer. I do think that when it comes to the building a national team, I do think there are places on the roster for guys who are in the domestic leagues, right? I think that has historically been the case with the U.S. That being said, we are 3 windows away from World Cup 2026, and it feels to me like this tinkering almost feels like Poch doesn't know who his best 11 is at this point. I don't believe in the whole the MLS conspiracy. I think that wasn't even an issue. This isn't a Poch issue. Greg Berhalter did the exact same thing. Essentially held the flag for Major League Soccer. Klinsmann did it, although Klinsmann had no choice because a lot of those guys came back as they were at the end of their careers. Bob Bradley did the same thing for Major League Soccer, and in some sense, so did Bruce Arena before him. But that being said, I will always say this, and I will always die on this hill, that Mauricio Pochettino has attached his name and his career to the U.S. men's national team, and the last thing that he could afford is to get grouped at the World Cup. So I would probably expect the names that we all expect are probably going to be at the World Cup. 100%. Because again, Poch cannot get grouped at the World Cup. If you're going to lose with your best players, not with a 50% squad of Major League Soccer players. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do it to yourself like that way. But I think really what it comes down to is we have a 26-man roster instead of a 23. And I would probably assume the reason why you're seeing some of these MLSers is essentially for those last 6 spots on the roster. I can't imagine that a Tristan Blackman will be at the World Cup. I can't imagine Max Arston will be at the World Cup. I would probably think that the 3 that make the most sense for getting a World Cup nod might be Matt Freese, Matt Turner, just by default because all of our goalkeepers now are in Major League Soccer. Maybe a guy like Alex Freeman, And maybe a guy like Diego Luna might make the World Cup squad. But outside of that, man, like our best players are playing abroad right now. And it's a shame too, because Malik Tillman probably was our best player in the Gold Cup, and he didn't get called in. And he is literally the starting 10 for Leverkusen. Instead we're getting what, Christian Roldan, we're getting Diego Luna. It boggles my mind. But that being said, specifically in this match, ill-conceived backline that literally led to the 2 goals because Tristan Blackman doesn't know how to play with Tim Ream. So it essentially has left Tim Ream on an island, especially on that second goal. But that first goal, it was all Tristan Blackman versus Son Heung-Min, and Sonny just beat the brakes off of him. It's unfortunate. And of course, in the attacking half, it's just high possession based, no creativity, no bravery, no movement. They tried a few times to get Josh Sargent on the end of balls, but South Korea's defense has been up to it. The only time that we look somewhat dangerous is when Timmy Way has got the ball at his feet. That's it. Who would you bring on the second half? Great question. I would bring Flo Balogun on. That's the first one. And I would probably bring on No Kai Banks. Yeah. I guess the question is, are you fine with Sebastian Berhalter? I didn't think Sebastian was really all that great in the first half. But that being said, most of those guys, once they got into the South Korea, once they get into their attacking half, it almost felt like they froze up anyway. So I don't necessarily think that I don't think it necessarily makes sense. Yeah, hold on real quick. Let's see. Let me double check something real quick. Let's see real quick. Yeah, no Kai Banks. Did he even make today's roster? I don't think he necessarily. Maybe he did, but that being said, it's either Banks or it's Chris Richards you bring on. Straight up. Listen, like you have to keep Korea at 2. You cannot afford to let Korea get 3. You can't afford to let this one get away from yourselves at this one. You actually have to play for a draw at this stage. And it's not like it would be it's not like it wouldn't be out of the possibility. But that being said, I would bring on Flo Balogun for Josh Sargent. And again, it sucks because what I really want to see was potentially McKennie and Tillman. That would have changed everything here. But like I can't. What the interesting thing is I would try to keep Christian Pulisic on the outside and try to play him long, like they're doing with Weah on the left-hand side. And try to get Christian in as many as 1v1 situations as you possibly can. Let Diego handle the traffic underneath. Me personally, it's like I would be trying to attack it as much as you can down the wings, and just let Christian be Christian. The interesting thing is like we don't have a Clint Dempsey or a Michael Bradley on the team where when you're trying to play Christian at the 10, there's going to be space because there are certain players, or a Jermaine Jones, or, a Landon Donovan, or somebody like that, where, it spreads defenses and it spreads back fours apart, and that allows a Christian Pulisic to be able to engage in space. Like, we don't have those players. And so, unfortunately, you almost have to figure out a way for Christian to get played onto the ball and for him to actually utilize space. And, when you're shading him underneath, what ends up happening is what happened in this first half, where Korea just collapses on the ball. And all of a sudden, Christian is now trying to have to create space against two defenders. So at that stage, it's like, man, you got to figure out a way to get Christian isolated 1v1 so he can create some space here. And I think that actually benefits a Josh Sargent or a Diego Luna or a Timmy Weah. But at this stage, down 2, like, you have to be a little creative in the second half here. You have to maybe switch things up tactically. By the way, in that first half, the United States had 52% of the possession, but managed only 3 total shots, 1 on target. And it looks like the players coming out here. And as of right now, it doesn't necessarily look like there's any changes, but I will let you know if there is. Let's see. Anyone that has played knows if you can't take pressure as a center back, you got to go. Yeah, I agree. 100%, Greg. That was the issue that I had in this one, is I just didn't understand why Tristan Blackman was even called up. Let's see. Wayne Bonner says, Dempsey, liked him at Fulham, love him when we had him at Tottenham, gutted. Yeah, and what's funny is, the interesting thing about Dempsey is he was there in 2012, 2013, and he actually had an offer to come back to White Hart Lane for 13-14, but he took MLS money to come back. And I understand he had already been over there for, damn near a decade already, and I think he had a wife and kids and just decided to come back to the States. But he could have stayed. But we are underway in the second half here, as Korea now is going to be attacking down the left-hand side, as that ball gets poked away by Blackman right there. So it'll be a throw-in for Korea off the left-hand side. So no changes for the U.S. men's national team, as they are down 2, as now Korea. Oh, that was good pass right there, as they find an open cutter, as Tyler Adams made a great play right there, as that goes out. So it'll be a Korea corner kick right here, as Tyler took a little fall right there. And he's all right. He's all right. As looks like Tyler's okay. So this will be a corner here, and it looks like Sonny will be taking the corner here for Korea. Down 2, the U.S. have their work cut out for them. You know what's interesting? I would almost be so inclined to playing, going to 2 at the top with Sargent and Pulisic, and just start playing direct. As this one's going to be on the left-hand side, as that ball was played in, it looks like there's a deflection off of Bearhalter, as that goes out for another throw-in for Korea. But Korea's on the front foot to start the second half here. And Korea will try to start again, as this one's going to get played back. And the U.S. are trying to press. The U.S. will hold possession here. And it'll be Serginho Dest off the right-hand side. And Dest now is going to try to play one forward. And there's absolutely nobody there. And that ball goes out for a Korea goal kick. I have no idea what Serginho was thinking there. There's Jurgen. There is the former U.S. and South Korea head coach. Say what you will about Jurgen, as that one was almost that was misplayed. Holy shit. as Korea wins the ball back up high after a mistake by Tristan Blackman, as he misplayed it. As we find out what's going on, as play is stopped, and it looks like there might be an issue with their number 10 with a hamstring issue. But say what you will about Klinsmann, he got results. And I understand what Landon and Tim Howard are saying about him. I get it, tactically speaking. But that being said, getting out of the group in 2014, getting to a semifinal at Copa America Centenario, beating Mexico there at Azteca, Estadio Azteca, and of course beating Italy. The results were there. As players resumed in Korea, we'll have the have possession here. As that ball was played long, as Blackman now. And there's a whistle, and it looks like there's a Korean player down on the turf here. It'll be their number 10. Which is Lee Jae-sung, who plays his club game in Germany for Mainz. And it looks like he's coming off the pitch now, so Korea will make a sub. But that being said, the U.S. went into the breakdown 2 as their back 2 got absolutely destroyed. But yeah, as Dan Davenport will say, yep, Klinsmann, awesome player back in the day for Spurs. Yeah, and I think it might have been 94 where Jurgen came in at the January window, and it actually saved Spurs from relegation. I could be wrong on the year, but Jurgen was a phenomenal player, as that ball is going to be played back to Matt Freese, who plays it directly up, as that ball will be headed, and it looks like it's Christian Pulisic who came down with it. Great question. Emma Hayes is getting along quite well with the U.S. women's national team. They won gold in the summer of 2024 in Paris, and it looks like they're going to be ready for the Women's World Cup. They're probably going to come in as the favorites, I would assume. Emma Hayes has turned out to be a wonderful coach for the U.S. women's national team. And the difference between her and Poch is that she knows exactly who her team is. That's the difference. I would probably assume that the U.S. women probably are going to win the Women's World Cup. As Korea now will have possession here. The U.S. is pressing quite well here. That ball is going to be played forward. And Freese comes way out to clear that one. Great job by Matt Freese right there, because Son Heung-Min was played forward. As Korea now will have the throw in. And that ball gets played all the way to the back. And it, you see the difference in the high press. The U.S. just really is not engaging. As Korea will try to play this a little bit more directly here. That ball is going to get played all the way up the right-hand side. And there's Arvston to clear it. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Dan. I don't watch a lot of women's soccer. Not even here in the NWSL. So I'll take your word for it. I know that England, the women's team, has a has a very strong side. I couldn't tell you who plays for England. But that being said, I think they won the women's Euros at one point. Can't remember. But here comes South Korea now. And so far, they have just been the better team. They have been taking advantage of space. They have been doing everything right here. Here's Diego Luna, who's going to try to play this up to the left-hand side. And it looks like it's Pulisic. 1v2. That ball is going to get played in, but it's going to get deflected. And that's going to get out for a U.S. throw-in. Good defense right there on Pulisic, as there was no entry into the box here. Tried to make something happen. God damn it. Just try to get one forward here. There you go. Here's Sargent. Lays it off. Off to the right-hand side. Here's Dest. 1v1. Dest cutting to the end line. And he holds possession. Wow, what's the... Oh, they're going to say out of bounds. Good defense right there. As Dest couldn't get around the corner. Although that probably should have been a whistle right there. I don't think you can drag an opponent down with an arm. I don't know. Let's see. I don't watch. Yeah. What about the? I don't watch golf, my guy. So this is actually going to be a corner here, and it looks like Berhalter will be taking the corner. We are approaching the 55th minute here. Good crowd in Jersey. As that ball's going to get whipped in, and that's going to be headed out. Here's Blackman. We'll find Berhalter. And there's going to be a whistle right there. As Pulisic was taken down to the turf. So this will be a nice little free kick right here. As Christian was trying to get forward. Good tackle right there. So here it is. A good free kick as Berhalter will be over it. I need a link for the live stream. You're at the live stream. Ken Mayer, good to have you along, by the way. And it's interesting that Berhalter has taken free kicks. I would probably assume that you might want your best free kick taker taking the free kicks. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But nonetheless, here's Berhalter. As that ball is going to get whipped in, headed away. Here's Berhalter again. And he's got to play this one back. Here's Luna. Good hustle by Christian. As the U.S. will try to set up 1v1. Here's Weah. Weah is going to try to get one. That was interesting. Let's see. All right, man. He's from Jamaica. Good to see you, man. I like the Reggae Boys. And then we have blessings to you as well, too. And we have Stumpery from Colorado, man. How do you like Paxton coming to your Colorado Rapids? It's a good move right there by Colorado. But it looks like Weah now is clutching his hamstring. And I would probably assume that, there's Zendejas. As the U.S. are going to try to press this. And here comes Korea now as they play this one out to the right. Good defense by the U.S., but held in by Korea as they're going to try to play this one around all the way out to the left. Let's see. You mainly watch the EPL and you're a Liverpool fan. A Liverpool fan? Actually, I I got to be honest. Liverpool is amazing. I'm a Tottenham supporter, so obviously my loyalties are with Tottenham, and if it's not Tottenham, then it's Crystal Palace. But Liverpool's all right. And it looks like Kenmore is a Man United fan. Looks like you're also a fan of La Liga. Yeah. As that ball is going to get played forward, trying to get Sonny on the end of it. Good defense right there by the U.S. As we are approaching an hour. As the U.S. still has not been great on the attack. Better defensively. But again, as they have just not been able to play Josh Sargent onto the ball. Same with Christian. As that ball is going to get played into Tyler Adams now. Speaking of Christian. There you go. There's just no creativity in this attack. Here's Weah. As it'll be Tyler Adams. Just make a run. And there you go. Try to beat. There you go. Get creative. As that one will get played out. I'm all MLS except for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. Okay. You like the Bundesliga, huh? I actually enjoy the Bundesliga as well too. I thought Josh should have went to Wolfsburg, but it is what it is. That being said, I'm kind of a fan of Dortmund. I always like Dortmund. That ball gets whipped in, it's going to get short and played out. Not exactly the greatest corner right there. As the U.S. will hold possession. As that ball gets played down to Serginho. And there's a whistle. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, they're not playing. They're not playing all that well. I would agree. The interesting thing is, like, you wonder exactly what this team would look like if Malik Tillman. By the way, speaking of the Bundesliga, he's with Leverkusen. If Tillman were here, if McKennie were here, if Musa were here, you wonder whether or not Weah, Pulisic, and maybe even Luna, how they would actually look if there was some quality surrounding them. You never know. He was deployed in Germany a few years ago, and so you adopted Stuttgart, but we lost Gersi to Dortmund. Okay. I'm not familiar with Stuttgart, but what branch of the military were you in? Curious. Let's see, but you see no spark. Yeah, I agree with you, Stumpery. Yeah, there is no spark. There's no creativity. There's no bravery. There's no nothing. It just, it's like this high base possession without any, without any forward attack. So it looks like there's going to be a double switch here as Chris Richards is going to check in. Actually, it's a quadruple switch. So Freeman will come in for Dest. Richards is coming in. Balogun's checking in for Sargent. And it looks like Christian Roldan is coming in for Tyler Adams. So it looks like Freeman for Dest. It looks like Richards for Blackman. Ballo for Sargent, and Roldan for Adams. All right. So we have, your wife is from Munich and she's a Bayern fan. Okay. Harry Kane. I'm in the national. Okay. Awesome, man. Thank you for your service. Absolutely, Rich Rod. So it looks like Korea is going to make a three-sided change as Heung-Min will come off now. So it's interesting. So the U.S. have finally made some changes here, as we will see Flo Balogun now. It's good to see Flo back with the national team. It's been a minute. As Christian Roldan makes his way onto the pitch as well too. Last minute call up for Mauricio Pochettino, and of course Christian was last seen wearing a winning League Cup with the Sounders, and he actually has been playing as the best center mid in Major League Soccer. So take that for what it will. So he will be on, and of course Chris Richards comes in, and Alex Freeman comes in for the United States. So, the back line is what it is. Gets a little bit better, but that being said, it's like, man, not exactly sure. I'm not exactly was understanding what Pochettino was trying to do with the starting lineup. As play is resumed here, as that ball is going to get played up the left-hand side, there's nobody really in that vicinity as that ball gets played out. It'll be a U.S. throw-in here. Only on a few occasions has the U.S. looked dangerous. Oh, nice pass right here. As that ball gets played. Oh, and that's a nice little pass into the middle right there. That's going to get tipped. No, it looks like Blackman's still in. So did Tim Ream come off? Yeah, I guess Tim Ream came off. As Blackman will actually stay on the pitch. That's wild, man. That's so wild. As that ball is going to get played down. Looks like it's going to be Pulisic trying to get Ballo onto it. Good pass. Ballo goes central. That shot's deflected. As Luna found himself on the end of that ball, but that shot gets deflected. Here's Roldan, plays it forward. Here's Luna. Luna going to find Ballo. Off to the right-hand side. Here's Freeman. Plays it across. Oh, and that ball gets played sky high. And it looks like that was Christian Roldan. And then all of a sudden, the U.S. all of a sudden now is playing forward on the front foot. That was a good pass from Pulisic to Ballo. And Ballo played it centrally and found Diego Luna. Not bad. Not a bad sequence right there. And that's exactly what I wanted to see, right? If you're going to work the ball centrally, Diego Luna just off the half turn moves forward into space, and that's where Diego Luna is actually quite dangerous, is when he's actually moving forward. And it looks like Korea's goalkeeper is on his feet. As we are approaching the 67th minute now, as that ball is going to get played forward, just a little over the head, so the U.S. will take possession back. Oh, that was a nice. Ooh, look at, was that Roldan right there, making a tackle, trying to keep possession. As here comes Balogun now. Oh, nice play by Balogun. As that gets out, it'll be a Korea throw-in, but there's the press. Wow. That was a nice little have to get to the ball right there by Balogun. Will the U.S. be able to find the back of the net in the next 5 to 10 minutes? They absolutely have to. Here's Chris Richards. And here's Berhalter. As Berhalter is going to try to play it centrally, that gets tipped away. And now Korea will have possession here. Oh. And now the ball gets played back all the way to Matt Freese. And the U.S. will reset. It's Chris Richards here. Here's Dest. And Dest is going to have to try to play this one forward. There's just nobody there. And Korea will take possession again. But the U.S. certainly has been played off the park in this one against Korea. The far more dangerous team trying to get forward. They took chances, and it paid off. United States just were playing a high possession based game without any substance, and of course, couldn't figure out a way inside Korea's box there. And in the meantime, their back line was just absolutely abused in that first half. As that ball makes its way across the midline, off the left-hand side for Korea. As that ball is going to get played in, there was just nobody there. And it looks like their center forward was offside to begin with anyway. Yonggu. As the U.S. are under pressure here. As Blackman finds himself in trouble. That's at least a halfway decent pass. As now Freeman gets taken down. So that'll be a whistle right there, and it'll be a U.S. free kick. So coming onto the pitch now is Alex Dejas for Diego Luna. As we will see Zendejas for the last 20 minutes here. As the U.S., those guys on the bench look dejected. As that's a turnover right there. Bad pass by Blackman. As that gets out of bounds. Let's see. We have Buldan Nikolov. Good to see you, Buldan. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. He said in parentheses a Rodrigo hater. I reckon you lot should play a 3-5-2 since you have problems with scoring and defending and seem to be good at keeping the ball up. That would be awesome, actually. I actually mentioned that right at the half. I wouldn't mind seeing two at the top with Sargent and Pulisic. But that being said, speaking of Pulisic, here's Christian. As that ball gets played out wide right. As it's in Dejas here. Nice pass by Freeman. Almost taken away there by Korea. As it looks like it's going to be played all the way back to Chris Richards here. God damn it. We are very good at keeping possession, I would assume, but in this game, not so much in the attacking third. It looks like there's going to be a whistle as Zendejas will find himself on the turf there. Josh seemed to be absent, which I watch a lot of footy, and he's superb in the championship, but he always has someone to play off of. I think that system would. Yeah, see, here's the thing, right? If we actually had our first team in, like our entire first team, that actually would, I guess you could say, widen the that widens the back four. That would allow Josh to attack the channels. Yeah, I would probably say he would probably look a little bit different, but we didn't have our entire first team. As that ball gets whipped in, ooh, and it found Richards off the set piece right there. It did find Richards as he played it in, but that was saved. And here's Zendejas off the right side trying to cut in. Nobody's there. Here's Freeman now. Come on, you got to play one in, Freeman. There you go. There's Zendejas. That ball's going to get deflected out. You know, without Malik Tillman, West, and Musa, this team has not looked good. As that ball's going to get played in. Headed down, shoots wide. Oh. As that was their best opportunity right there. As off that free kick, it did find Chris Richards. That was a great save right there. You know, yeah, we do rate. Yeah, we do. We do rate Weah. Considering that the United States just does not develop wingers, to be able to get somebody at least of some quality like Timmy Weah, who has actually played pretty decent for the U.S. side. You know, considering that how he was used at Juve, it is what it is. But that being said, it's like, you know, I think he may have taken a step down by going to Marseille, but he's still going to be somebody who is going to be playing a significant role at World Cup 2026. 100%. 100% he's rated. You know, like who else did the U.S. have, really? And it looks like that ball went out. Yeah, you know what's interesting is like I kind of wish he would have stayed at Juve. You know, at the very least, same thing with McKinney. You know, at least you have the opportunity to play his way into the starting 11. And, you know, Weah does have flashes. But, you know, the better opportunity was at Marseille. Okay, fine. As the U.S. now will try to set up here. Here's Freeman. Bearhalter. You know, and the interesting thing though is that yeah, he took a step down in quality with by going to Marseille. So I actually expect a big season for Weah, but as we have Boldon, he was playing full back there. I think it was just set him back. Yeah, he hasn't been great. I get it, man. He really hasn't. But that being said, it's like he does have quality, and you would expect him to at least have a decent season as far as GA is concerned in Ligue 1. Just considering the poor quality of defenses in that leagues, we'll see. Keyshawn, good to see you. Keyshawn Poch is asking him out. Okay, well, you know, at this stage, okay, let's kind of devil's advocate this one and just say that Poch gets relieved tomorrow, or he goes to Manchester United, or whatever the case may be. Who comes in? That is going to get the United States back on track with less than a year from the World Cup. As we welcome Joe back in here, Joe, what's going on, my friend? Looks like the United States have kept Korea out of the net for the majority of the second half, but still have yet.
Nothing much has happened.
As it looks like Jack McGlynn is going to check in here as it looks like Christian's finally going to take this free kick here. Xavi, ideally, he suits a possession-based team. Yeah, we're not getting Xavi. We're not getting Xavi. So it's nice to see that Pulisic here is going to take the free kick, as he should. And as we're ready for this one, here's Pulisic. Now he's going to shoot, and that goes over the crossbar. So, all right. So, your thoughts on the second half now?
I was actually mostly driving, so I didn't really get to watch it. But some highlights was Jens Kostrop of South Korea, the interracial man. He actually intercepted a pass and stabilized the ball at another. So he's been showing his potential as a midfielder for the future, and hopefully he will be ready by the World Cup.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that it's literally been like the U.S. has been a little bit more dangerous since the 60th minute when the subs came on, but still, for the most part, it feels like they have no idea what to do in the attacking third. Still not playing with enough bravery. Still playing this high possession-based game, and yet they just can't figure out a way to break down Korea's back five. So from that standpoint, again, as we are approaching the 80th minute now, Korea essentially has played the U.S. essentially off the park in this one. Here
with a 2-0 lead, you would think that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Here's Pulisic now. Freeman, as that ball gets deflected and then played out. Like even when they have an opportunity and it was Pulisic off the half turn running forward in space, they just can't figure out what to do. And again, the U.S. just is wasting time here trying to get forward. As Richards will play this one out to Freeman off the right-hand side. By the way, Freeman is not better than Dest. I'll just say it. I know there's been a controversy about the two. But the reality is, like, Serginho Dest is as of right now, Serginho Dest is miles ahead of Alex Freeman. And I don't mind Freeman being on the roster, but that being said, it's like to assume that Freeman, who's only had 6 months in Major League Soccer, is ahead of a guy like Serginho Dest is just ridiculous. That's a good play into the box. Here's Ballo. And South Korea just closes down the space. As that's going to get played to Roldan. Ooh, and he shoots, and that gets blocked. As there's a whistle right there. He says, "What's my expectations?" By the way, Bodan Nikolov, I love the fact that you're a Rodrigo hater. I just chuckle at that. My expectation for the World Cup is that the U.S. Should win their group, and they should at least win their first knockout round game, which would be the round of 32 this time. I just think that the U.S. talent-wise, and again, if the roster is correct, their talent should suggest that they're going to be able to win their group because they're going to have a favorable group. And at that stage, as long as they're coming in on form, the U.S. does have a capability of at least getting to the round of 16, if not to the quarterfinal. But at that point, then you're in a position where you're going to need some luck. But I just think that the U.S. talent-wise is there. But the roster has to be right heading into the World Cup. So you, at the beginning of this broadcast here, Joe, you said 1-0 the U.S. That's what you were expecting. And so now all of a sudden, as we're in the 80th minute, your South Korean side is up 2-0. Obviously getting both goals in the first half. Looked very good. In possession, were the more dangerous team, the one that was willing to take chances. Your thoughts on South Korea?
I'm shocked. Did not expect it. Did not expect much out of the back five or the back four. It looks like midfield play has been a lot better, and Son didn't have to really necessarily carry the team as well, as although he did score, but it's not like he was like running around being chased by two USA players. So I'm impressed so far,
Yeah.
but of course, it's always a friendly. So you still want to take it as a grain of salt. And of course, I'm an expectations freak because if South Korea lost the United States, then I would be freaking out, or I'd have been like, typical. But this exceeded my
I was
expectations.
impressed, man. I was impressed, understanding that Korea and Japan are probably the two best teams in the Asian Confederation, and these are two teams that are going to be in the World Cup. And so for the United States, this was actually kind of a big set of friendlies, and I just feel like it was a wasted opportunity for the U.S. That being said, am I surprised? No, just because we have not been playing well over the last year to begin with anyways. Like the last year and a half have been just dreadful form-wise. But the reality is it's I wanted to see the U.S. take their chances, but they just it's frustrating to watch it. Like I understand South Korea's quality, right? Obviously, because they're a World Cup team. But that being said, I know that South Korea hasn't necessarily been playing their best football over the course of the last year. And as you mentioned, their coach sets them up in a way where it doesn't necessarily suit their strengths. But that being said, I was expecting the U.S. to at least be dangerous, and they were they were essentially the complete opposite.
Yeah, because man, I remember the last time the United States played South Korea. It was actually it was about a few months before the World Cup of 2014.
Correct.
South Korea lost 2-0. And at that time, I didn't really think of it much. And I should have
'Cause I
actually
think
thought of it as a red flag. And they lost to
We
Ghana
did-
4-0 in friendlies too before the 14 World Cup.
The interesting thing was that I think the U.S. and Korea played twice. Once was at the 2002 World Cup, I think in group play stage, and then you mentioned the one right before the 2014 World Cup. But that's the thing. It's like I'm aware of their run at the Asia Cup. I'm aware of their run through the World Cup qualifying, and it's like they haven't necessarily been electric. But that being said, the U.S. has been god awful for like a year and a half now. But still, though, man, I just wanted to see the U.S. be the aggressor for at least 10, 15, 20 minutes in this one, as that ball is going to get played to the back post, and that's headed out. Will be a corner kick. Korea has literally played the U.S. off the pitch today. It's unbelievable. Stumpery goes on to see, here's how I see the U.S. team. Lots of weapons, but no shooters. Guns, but no shot callers. Expect more from Desway, Sergeant Pulisic. Yeah. But again, man, it's hard for your best players to get to take the game by the scruff of the neck when you're playing with guys who should not even be on this team at this stage. He says, I'm disgusted by this team. If the A team doesn't start to play these games within at least 8 months prior to the World Cup, keep them off the team completely, no matter how good they are, teach a lesson. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what this camp was really all about, right? Wes isn't getting minutes, so he was kept off the roster, right? So messages have been sent. But that being said, it's like, again, are you going to be comfortable with Sebastian Berhalter on the World Cup squad, or Christian Roldan, or Tristan Blackman? That ball's going to get played into the back post, and there's nobody there. Damn.
South Korea is also ranked 23rd in the world.
Yeah, they're a good team, man. South Korea can beat you, man. Let's see. Stumpery says it's been 6 years since the U.S. Beat a team in the top 25 in the FIFA rankings. Yeah, actually, I don't even pay attention to the FIFA rankings. I actually pay attention to the ELO rankings, which are a lot better. Currently right now, Panama is ranked ahead of the United States.
So ELO rankings is the one to look at. I had a feeling that it was the ELO rankings, and FIFA had a bit too much of a bias this.
Correct. I understand your point, but we saw no spark. Yeah, again, right? So here's the thing. It's like, this was the camp where you bring in your entire first team, which means you have to bring in all your European-based players, the ones that you actually rate. So that means Gio, Malik, Weston, Christian, Eunice, Ballo, Sargent. The reality is, it's like you have to get these teams minutes because you're not going to be able to form chemistry unless those guys are in camp. And that was as far as I'm concerned, that was the mistake with this camp. Rich Rod said, that's not true. We beat Mexico multiple times. Yeah, but we beat Mexico when Mexico was bad between 2021 and 2023. Mexico just played us off the park in the Gold Cup.
Got a couple minutes left of this match plus the stoppage time. And yeah, now to think of it, I do remember when Egypt got accidentally put in top 10 in the FIFA rankings in 2011. I still wonder what that was all about.
So yeah, the Mexico right now is rated 16th in the ELO rankings. Let's see, Paraguay is 24th, Canada is 27th, South Korea is ranked 34th in the ELO rankings, Wales is 38th, Scotland is 40, and the United States is ranked 45th in the ELO rankings. 45th. Scotland and Wales are rated higher. But, we've been playing like shit. So I'm not surprised that we're down in the 40s, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Oh, my God. You guys are 45th and South Korea is 34. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, it's like when you're looking at the ELO rankings, and you're going up the rankings, and they're sitting at number 13 is Japan, who is our next opponent here, as that ball is going to get played into the box, and that's just going to go through it. But Korea is going to hold this one in here. As this ball is going to get played back. Rich Rod goes on to say, this is such a bad team, man. When we won Gold Cup with our C team versus Mexico's A team, and our A team won the Nations League, I felt like the future was looking pretty great. The interesting thing is that here's the weird part, right? Like, because of the expanded World Cup, now our World Cup qualifiers have been watered down. And because we have the Nations League, it's watered down because we no longer have to play the Hex, which is actually to our detriment. Because at the very least, I will say that CONCACAF, now is the quality of CONCACAF going to prepare you for a World Cup? No. But the fact that you have to go to hostile territories in World Cup qualifying and having to get through that first group of qualifying, and then you get to the Hex, and now you have to travel to Honduras and Mexico and El Salvador and Costa Rica. Like that, that builds character, right? And that's the thing. It's like, we don't have that. Like, Nations League is not going to prepare you for a World Cup, right? It's going to be the outside tournaments that are going to try to build character, like Copa America. So like if like between cycles, if we're playing in Copa America, that's actually a good thing. But that being said, it's like more CONCACAF football is not going to prepare this team at all. It's actually going to make this team worse because we have no idea how good our team is going to be. And because FIFA introduced Nations League, it doesn't allow our schedule to allow these type of friendlies where we're playing good World Cup teams. And of course, we're always at home. We're never on the road. What would it be like if we're playing South Korea there in Seoul?
South Korean Seoul, absolute bedlam.
Oh, there. Oh, save! Oh.
I know. I was so distracted by that. That's why I didn't really hear your question very well.
Oh, as the U.S. nearly put one in. Unbelievable that we weren't able to get one. Oh, heartbreaker.
Wow, just those reflexes by Cho Hyun-woo.
Yeah, it's like that. By the way, that was great goalkeeping. Is that ball is going to get played in? That's going to get deflected out, and there's going to be a whistle. Oh.
But yeah, South Korea's environment is like.
Now Balogun.
It's like, I would say up to the level of like watching a Seahawks game, like in their prime. We're talking prime Seahawks crowd. That's the environment that you'd be getting in Korea.
Well, here's the thing. It's like I agree it doesn't prepare us, but we're dominating Mexico that year, even with our C team, which isn't normal. I felt like the next, yeah, that's again, man. But you have to add context here, right? Because between 2021 and 2023, that was the worst version of Mexico, and now you look at what Mexico is doing under Javier Aguirre, and Mexico played us off the pitch in the Gold Cup, right? Again, we didn't have our best team, but it is what it is. It's like under Javier Aguirre, that team is, that Mexico is kind of tough now. But that being said, what I will say is that one of the things that made the U.S. good in the past was that they were always prepared, and that ball's gonna get deflected out, as it looked like Balogun tried to get on the end of that one right there. As we are in the 93 plus 3, so we have two more minutes of stoppage time. But that being said, it's like, yeah, I think the interesting thing about this cycle was the distractions and turmoil. The Gio Reyna fiasco at the start of this cycle, that nearly got Berhalter fired, and then of course they waited 8 months. Looked good under BJ Callahan, but 8 months wasted. Only for them to rehire Berhalter. The debacle with the Copa America being the first host nation to get grouped. And then, of course, we just have not rebounded from Copa America. It just is what it is. And the fact that there's no qualifying. So that was to our detriment, because at least with qualifying, you have something to aim for, and you would probably get the very, very best version of this team. But since we're in and there's nothing to play for, it almost feels like they're going to try to show up at the very end, and then just try to turn it on. And I don't exactly know how that's going to play out. But here's the U.S. now trying to play into the box. Here's Ballo. Oh, nice move. Oh, and that ball's taken away right here. And jeez. As we are in the 95. And I think that's going to do it right there. As South Korea has beaten the United States 2-0. And it's still
that's all I can say. Sorry.
And it continues here for the U.S. as now they've lost 2 straight. Now from Mexico to South Korea. Now they got Japan on the horizon. I guess credit to South Korea. They were just the better team, but disappointing if you are the U.S. men's national team. Essentially played off the park, man. It sucks.
Especially the first half difference maker, when Son was able to get that scoring in along with another one at the end, and then basically nothing happened in the second half. So I'm happy about the result, but now I'm more curious of how South Korea will do against Mexico. That's going to be the next one to look at.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, if South Korea beats Mexico, you know exactly the level of where South Korea is on. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Korea gave them a match. But Richard asked, is the Reyna experiment done? I don't necessarily think so, although, he's kind of a clubhouse cancer, acting like a spoiled brat. But that being said, I will say this, that the only reason why he didn't get called into this one is because he made the move to Borussia Mönchengladbach. And so you would expect that Pochettino wanted to give him time at his new club to adjust. But that being said, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this next month goes for Gio, whether or not he's going to see a lot of minutes there at Borussia Mönchengladbach. The talent's there. The talent is there with Gio. The talent has never been an issue. It's where his mentality and his maturity is at. That's the issue with Gio Reyna.
Well, I just want to say good game and Sorry, what happened? I'm happy though, but I gotta take off for the Atlanta
Sure.
game, and I will see you in about 6 innings from now.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a good day.
And you too. And I'll yeah. Okay. So, anyways, let's look at the stats here. As in total, the U.S. held 54% of the possession to South Korea's 46. Total shots, U.S. 18, South Korea 5. But of those 18 shots, the U.S. only put 5 on target to South Korea's 4. The interesting thing was the fact that they buried their 2 big chances, and the U.S. didn't. They had 3 big chances. They missed all 3. Accurate passes, the U.S. 505 to South Korea's 438. Fouls committed, 8 for the United States, 4 for South Korea, and the U.S. beat South Korea in the corner battle 6-3. As we look at the shot breakdown chart, obviously 18-5 total. Shots inside the box, the U.S. had 11 to South Korea's 5, and shots outside the box 7-0. And again, but the U.S. were just they were unable to take advantage of some of these opportunities. As we look at the passing, the U.S. 572 to South Korea's 506. Passes in their own half, South Korea 275 to 225 for the U.S. Passes in the opposition half, the U.S. 280 to South Korea's 163. Accurate long balls, and this is the discrepancy because this was the entire first half, really. South Korea 24, U.S. 11. Touches in the opposition box, U.S. 38, South Korea 17. Defense, the tackle battle, South Korea 21, the U.S. 12. Interceptions 16-4, South Korea. Duels 39-33 to South Korea. Ground duels 132-25. Aerial duels, the U.S. won that one 8-7. And it tells the story that, again, I don't give a shit. I do not give a shit about the possession battle because it's not about how many passes you make. It's about taking your opportunities and burying them. And that was the problem with the U.S. tonight is the fact that, yeah, it's cool, man. So we had 526 passes and all of that's great. But number one, where were those passes going? Generally, they're heading back. And how many times did you actually try to play balls forward? And that was fucking 0, right? There was no bravery. There was no individuality. There were no just trying to take on your defenders 1v1, trying to get balls into the box. There was none of that. This team was not strong trying to play centrally. They weren't even strong 1v1 on the outside. The 2 times in the first half that they tried to get it to Timmy Weah's foot, it worked out pretty well as Weah kind of beat his man around the corner twice. But that being said, there was nobody there in the channel, right? Josh Sargent had a hard time getting his footing in the box. And again, he's a direct striker, which means, in order to play Josh onto the ball, you actually have to play balls forward for him to get on. And that's not the way that the U.S. plays. So it's unfortunate. When Ballo got on, it was a little different. Ballo's a quicker striker. And it looked like they were trying to get the ball onto Ballo's foot because, in the last 20 minutes, they were. And Ballo had a couple opportunities there that he just didn't see. He didn't put away. And so it's unfortunate that we get clean sheeted tonight. And it's actually, to be honest with you, man, it's actually quite frustrating because, to be honest with you, I feel like the U.S. could have played their way into it, but again, this lineup was just flawed from the very beginning. The idea that Chris Richards was going to sit for Tristan Blackman, and you saw what South Korea did. They absolutely abused Blackman in that first half. Sun Heung-Min, essentially blows by Blackman for that first goal. Then on that second goal, Blackman gets tripped up, and because of it, Tim Ream can't get back to it, and then all of a sudden it's 2-0. And now we're going to the half down 2, and that was it. Had they been able to at least, keep it at 1, maybe they might be able to, find a goal somewhere in the second half, and this thing is a draw. But I don't know what Poch was thinking with that starting lineup, that starting 11. If you have Chris Richards, who's your best defender, and you're starting him in case of just to get a look at Blackman, at the very least, play no Kai Banks. At the very least. We have Jeff Lagesson, who was on the show last night. Jeff, good to see you, man. Teams will let you kill the clock on your own, passing it around if you're not going to really do anything with it. They had the lead, so they didn't really need the ball. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And here's the other thing to consider this, Jeff, is they also knew that the U.S. was not going to be dangerous with the ball. That's the thing. It's like there was no creativity with the ball. What was interesting, they're sitting there holding the ball off the right side on the wing, and who's making that run? Where you can just try to flick a ball in there and see if something can be made happen. They were literally just passing it to each other. Unbelievable. Keyshawn says, get Poch out. And again, cool, man. Who are you going to replace him with? Bruce Arena? Bob Bradley? Who are you going to replace him with? Right? If Poch goes, so does his entire assistant team. But that being said, it's like, who number one are you going to get? That's the first question, right? Who is just going to come in and set a lineup, and then who, I don't know. God knows what kind of locomotive damage that the U.S. number 18 suffered out there. Who was the number 18? All I know is that it's bad enough. It's bad enough that right now our form is absolute dog shit right now. And it's been that way for a while. I mean, yes, we had a decent Gold Cup, but of course it was the level of competition that allowed us to at least get 4 on the bounce and at least feel good about ourselves. But that being said, it's like, against let's go back to the Nations League against Panama, when we were absolute dog shit against Panama. And then of course we get beat by Canada. And then, we lose to Switzerland and Turkey, lose to Mexico. And now, we lose to South Korea. And it's, it's the camaraderie, it's the momentum, it's the chemistry. It's just not there. And again, man, if you're going to head into a World Cup, at least if you're going to lose, you're going to lose with your best players. Here's the thing, right? I will always default to the fact that, again, man, Pochettino has put his name and his reputation on the line with this appointment. Okay, great. So, when it comes down to it, I would probably expect that those guys that we expect will be at the World Cup in 2026. Because if you're going to lose, you're going to lose with your best players. But that being said, the reason why I expected it was because you want to get minutes with these guys. You want to try to build team chemistry as we're getting closer to the World Cup. But what we get are Tristan Blackman and Sebastian Berhalter and Christian Roldan. And by the way, to Roldan's case, he actually wasn't terrible. He held his own a little bit tonight. But that being said, it's like, man, I would would you rather see Christian Roldan or would you rather see Weston McKennie? Yeah, I think that's the answer, but I digress. Let's see, Rich Rod, are we 2-10, 3-7 in our last 10 games? No, because we had that run of 4 in the Gold Cup. And we had one. Let's see. Let's go back to. Let me look at our last. Yeah. So. Let's see. Let's go back here. So we're going to go back to, all right, the start of the Potch era was September, let's see, October 12th. Like, he was hired in September, and it looks like Mikey Varis was on the 2 friendlies in September, the 2-1 loss to Canada, and the 1-1 draw against New Zealand. And then he took over on October 12th, 2024. We beat Panama 2-0, lost to Mexico 2-0. And then we beat Jamaica twice, Venezuela, and then Costa Rica. So that's 4, 5. I think he started off like 5-1. And then we lose to Panama and Canada, Turkey, and then Switzerland. So that's what, 5-5. And then we beat Trinidad, Saudi Arabia, Haiti, and then Guatemala with a draw against Costa Rica. We beat them in penalties. So from that standpoint, we're 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, we're 10-5, and now 10-7. 10-7 in the Potch era. So we're 10-7 in the Potch era, without a win against anybody that's really credible. There's no surprise win in it at all. Who was the assistant that coached in Bridge before we hired Potch? I call him a gun teacher. He had the team playing aggressive, and I was are you talking about BJ Callahan? When Greg after Greg stepped down before he was reappointed, we had BJ Callahan, who actually got this team playing pretty well. And the interesting thing was that, yeah, it was BJ. And then, of course, we brought Greg back only for him to get fired after the Copa debacle, and now it's Potch. So, yeah. The interesting thing, though, it's like Potch was hired. Like, let's understand this real quick, because I think people don't have an understanding exactly why Potch was hired. Okay, Potch wasn't hired to revolutionize the youth national team and streamline the process to the first team. That's not what Potch is here to do. And to believe it or not, Potch is not even here to recruit dual nationals. He was hired to lead this golden generation into the 2026 World Cup. That was it. But I get the impression that he didn't like what he saw. Going all the way back to October of last year when he first took reins of this team, and he saw the entitled attitudes, and he saw the lack of passion or the lack of fire of putting on the U.S. shirt, which is why he kind of turned his attention to Major League Soccer players, because at the very least, with U.S. soccer, with Major League Soccer team players, you're at least going to get the heart and you're going to get the hustle. But that being said, I still think that when it all comes down to it, those European-based players that maybe Potch was turned off by are probably going to be there. Because again, if he gets grouped without his best players, man, his career is done. Let's see. 10-7 not good when we lose to anyone outside of CONCACAF. Yeah, well, we also lost to teams inside CONCACAF. Yep, they did look aggressive, and let's see, they're constantly running forward. It made me feel like I was watching a South American team. It was fun to watch. Yeah, what's funny is like BJ had him organized. But the interesting thing is, like, last night I was talking with Jeff Lageson, and it's like, when you see a guy, here's the funny thing. It's like, because Major League Soccer has co-opted U.S. soccer, they always want to hire an American coach from Major League Soccer. And it's like, you're talking about hearing the names like Steve Cherundolo or Jim Curtin. And it's like, why not go hire the best available coach in Major League Soccer that's won every single trophy in Brian Schmetzer? Because at the very least, players like playing for Schmetzer. And the interesting thing is, Schmetzer is also an attacking coach who's incredibly organized. And it would be kind of interesting to see exactly how our European-based players play under him. It's never going to happen. But it's like if you're going to go that route, then at least go the route with the best possible American coach. It's not going to happen. The funny thing is, like, if should have hired Thierry Henry, no, you hired Wilfried Nancy. That's the right French coach to hire. Thierry Henry is he's not good as a coach. But that being said, it's like if the problem with Pochettino, number one, he's never coached at the international level. He can't run it like a club because it's just a different game. And the fact that you're only getting players in for 10 days and you have to cram two games into it, and there's just not enough time for you to, get your philosophy over. It means like you have to kind of keep things simple. You can't, try to install an attacking, you can't install your type of tactics and your type of philosophy because the international game, it's just not you don't have the time like you have the clubs where you can actually instill your philosophy when it comes to your tactics. You almost have to keep it simple. And that was the big problem with Greg Berhalter is like he wanted to play like Barcelona 2012 or like Brazil 1970. And it's like, number one, you don't have the players to do it. And also number two, like, dude, it's like go back to every single coach that we've had. And it's like basic tactics designed to our strengths. Like that was it. And we actually played pretty well. We actually had very good results because of it. And it's like sometimes you actually have to try to simplify things with the international game, right? And Poch has a specific style of playing, and it's like, okay, cool. But that being said, it's like even in that, like you have to understand that you just don't have the time to to convey a philosophy, and you have to trust the players that you have. And I also think that's an issue as well too. I don't think there's a lot of trust between Poch and some of our European-based players, which is why we're less than a year now away from the World Cup, and we just don't have some of our best players in camp. It's a sad fact. Do I think that our players, like that's the thing? It's like these guys are professionals, and so you expect them to be able to show up and perform. So do I think that could possibly happen? Maybe. But I do know that it starts with having your best players in camp. Absolutely, it starts with your best players in camp. And so coming up in October, and I think we get Ecuador and Australia, Friday, October 10th and Tuesday, October 14th. And then we have our pre-World Cup. We have our pre-World Cup camp. And so listen, Ecuador, good team. Australia, bad team. But that being said, that October camp, we have to have our best players in camp. No excuses. I think we've seen enough. I think we've seen enough with the Tristan Blackmans and the Sebastian Berhalters of the world, and we need to have our Malik Tillmans, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Brendan Aronson, and some of these other players in camp. Because again, if we're going to give ourselves any shot in the World Cup, we have to have our best players in camp. And if we lose, we lose, but at least we lose with our best players. It is what it is, man. But I think that's going to do it for me tonight. I do want to thank Rich Rod 908 in the chat, man. Good to have you. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Keyshawn, Thanks for stopping by. Et Jeff, always like having you around. You're a good guy, man. Let's see who else. Stumpery, good to see you tonight as well too. Baden Nikolov, who stopped by. I want to thank all you guys who participated tonight in the chat. I also want to thank all you guys who tuned in tonight. It's unfortunate the U.S. laid another egg, and I'm sure we're going to see it on X. We're going to see it on TikTok. We're going to see it on YouTube, and rightfully so. But that being said, we'll probably see you on Tuesday as the U.S. will prepare for Japan. Man, hopefully we look a little bit better against Japan, but I got you. Looking for the next one. You're engaging. Hope your following grows. I appreciate it, man. Hopefully you will hit that like and subscribe button, my friend. So I will see you on Tuesday for the U.S. versus Japan, and hopefully this crew learned some lessons from tonight, and hopefully Pochettino does right by the squad by playing some of his better players. So we'll see how that goes. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. More importantly, I hope you enjoy your Saturday night. To that extent, go USA, and we'll see you back on Tuesday. Take care, guys.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our